bases dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. It's a Wednesday, which means it's a Wall Pass Wednesday, which means we'll be taking your questions. You want questions to be answered or at least filibustered? We will do our best. Tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. Email us soccerdownhere@gmail. Join us on the Twitch pitch, twitch.tv/Soccer Down Here. We've got Champions League to get into. We've got Atlanta United returning to the training pitch. First session under Gabriel Heinze today. Mike Conti's joining us at 10 o'clock. We're going to talk about guilty pleasures in the world of football and music as well. But when there is news in a certain part of the world, that means we have to get a certain person on to talk about it. And hold that thought, certain person, because
in Scotland today,
Neil Lennon left.
I thought I was coming on to talk about Thomas Tuchel. I feel bad.
Neil Lennon walked out the door at Celtic.
He's just going to get cigarettes at the corner store. He'll be back in an hour.
Nope. He says he ain't coming back. He says he's gone. Of course, in his statement, he did try to come up with some excuses and more things because that's what he's good at. But Celtic is in the search for a new manager, Jarrett. How you feeling? Gritalo, Jarrett.
I am feeling like the end of Aladdin when the genie got freed after an hour and a half. I feel like we just punched an arson after he burned the house down completely and we never bothered to call 911. I feel like it is the right move, but months too late. Like, you probably should have done this after he lost to Ferencváros at home in the Champions League back last fall.
There's that.
But that wasn't going to happen. Oh, that's okay. You probably should have done it after you lost 4-1 to Spartak Prague at home to a Spartak Prague team that was riddled with COVID.
Oof,
and
that.
had 17-year-old kids running circles around you because you didn't have a plan. You probably should have done it after that game when Neil Lennon said that wouldn't happen again. And surprise, it happened 2 weeks later when you did literally the same scoreline in Prague.
But, Jarrett, he has worked as hard as ever.
It should have happened when you lost to Rangers at home and didn't register a shot on goal.
There's that. He always wants the best for Celtic, Jarrett.
It probably should have happened when you lost to Ross County, who's at the bottom of the table. The first time, not the time that happened this week.
That's not good.
There are multiple times. Sorry, let me clarify.
Yeah.
It should have happened.
Please.
The first one in a cup competition. Or perhaps even though you won the game. It probably should have happened when he decided to trot out God knows what against Hearts of Midlothian in the cup final so you could get your quadruple treble. And made it as physically possible, as difficult as possible, in a way that, like, Jason and I were, like, ranting and screaming back and forth to each other.
There was a lot of screaming. There was a lot of all caps.
It's done, but it probably should have happened before now.
It feels a little empty, doesn't it, Jared?
A lot of things feel empty right now.
Oh, don't go full Jared on me now, and don't go grab the My Chemical Romance album,
I was
please.
gonna say, yeah, My Chemical Romance just got broken out of the CD case.
Don't do that.
For one thing, I don't have the CD case. I have like the giant case, the soft one that keeps like 40 CDs. Thank you very much.
I thought you might have had the vinyl. I was giving you a little more credit.
No, I wasn't that cool. Sorry. Also, I didn't have a CD player in my car growing up. Like, at one point, the only way I could listen in my car or my truck when I was in high school was I had a CD player that sat on the console.
Yeah.
Like that set in the console that was connected to a tape. Yep,
Yes.
a tape converter.
Yes.
That's the only way I could listen to Tool's 10,000 Days in the car.
Very nice. I feel like we're going to need like a bagpipe, like breaking news sounder for this segment. We don't have one, so you're going to get one of
in
these.
Scotland today.
Hopefully it doesn't happen this frequently that you need something like that.
We'll see. Former English Premier League Supremo Simon Jordan insists that Rafa Benitez won't end up at Celtic because he likes, quote, a big bag of money
I would like a big bag of money too if they're just handing those out.
Seriously, like who doesn't like a big bag of money?
Yeah, really?
Like Rafa's different than the rest of us. This is the quote from Jordan on Talk Sport just a little while ago. Every single appointment is very important for Celtic, and in the nature of their rivalry with Rangers and the reemergence of Rangers, it has now become even more prevalent. The situation with Neil Lennon was if, not when, so we're talking about something which has just been brought forward. You saw in Neil Lennon's body language, his position after losing to Ross County. It was time, probably. It's about what they do next. It's interesting because what I think will be one of the things that will preclude them is budget. I can't see Benitez coming because Benitez likes a big bag of money.
If not when, this is like saying the end of Armageddon. If Bruce Willis had sat there for another 15 minutes and then blown up the asteroid and it still destroyed the Earth and said, "But I did the thing, guys. I blew up the asteroid. I did what you wanted me to do." If I had near Lennon, yeah, timing is kind of crucial.
There's
Push
you're
a
not going to
button,
win anything.
Stamper.
Pretty much, like you're not going to win anything. You're done.
Oh, it's not good. John Kennedy is going to take over on the temporary basis, and he is the bookies' favorite to replace Neil Lennon, at least in some bookies areas.
Really, of course he is. That'd be the easiest thing. For them.
Yeah, tell me about John Kennedy.
In the same way that hiring Neil Lennon last time when Brendan Rodgers left, you brought Neil Lennon in as the interim, and it was just, he drags you through the rest of that season, which was tense. Rangers was starting to find themselves 3 years ago. He drags you through that season, wins the cup. I think he won 2 trophies. I think one of them had already been won by then. And if I'm not mistaken, they offered him the full-time job in the locker room after the last game or after the last cup. I maintain that I don't know that you end up with Neil Lennon for a second stint if Brendan Rodgers doesn't, pull a Baltimore Colts sort of thing and decide to leave in the middle of the season. Because I think at that point they had done a full review in the summer if Rodgers had seen it out. But right. You get Lennon in there. Lennon wins, sometimes in spite of himself, just because it's not dissimilar from the talks about Jose Mourinho that we've had of a guy who it worked 10 years ago. It worked 5 years ago. It doesn't work now because the game has changed and has passed them by. And what worked then doesn't work now. Of course, no one's going to say that Neil Lennon is on the same tactical stroke that Jose Mourinho was on when he was at Porto or anything like that. But it's passed him by. I don't think he's going to get the full-time job in that universe where that all lines up that way. But I am terrified that they bring in Kennedy. They play well just because it's a breath of fresh air or something. And then they give him the full-time job, and it just kind of gets stale. Hopefully I'm wrong. Because hopefully, they bring in somebody who's going to change things up, like a Ronnie Dyla. It doesn't have to be exactly Ronnie Dyla, but someone who was young and kind of changed things up and was a bit of a paradigm shift that not everybody loved, but, had lasting positive changes for a bit.
Now, John, go ahead. Sorry.
Go. Or if you do leave him in, that he's better than I give him credit for.
Now, John, I'm going to assume you have the bookies numbers pulled up. Jim White of Sky Sports, pretty soon after this happened, and it was about 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning over there, so very middle of the night here. Jim White said that Steve Clark, who is the current manager of Scotland, preparing for the Euros, Rafa Benitez, and Roberto Martinez were in the frame for the Celtic job. Benitez is out of work at the moment. Roberto Martinez is the manager of Belgium, getting ready for the Euros. Probably not going to. I think Clark and Martinez probably aren't going to really listen until the summer after the Euros. Another name has come up, and maybe it is just out of soap opera desires. Frank Lampard, and his name has come up. One reason why is because of Steven Gerrard across town at Rangers, and Steven Gerrard had to comment on Neil Lennon walking out the door at Celtic. I can't say I'm surprised because of what's been going on over there. But I obviously take no personal satisfaction, so I wish him well for the future. Steven Gerrard being asked about Neil Lennon walking out the door, and now Frank Lampard might walk in the door.
Yeah. I did see that some folks were.
Do you have the
fans.
bookies' numbers, John?
I do.
Okay,
I'm just saying that I saw that some folks were looking at also Freddie Ljungberg as possible, saying hashtag Freddie is ready.
Why? Who is that? Who's doing that? Is that some guy? Like
I said, some fans in the timeline after the Celtic announcement were saying
that's somebody
it's at some
trying
pub
to start
in West End of Glasgow.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
All
somebody like at the pub trying to start something. Okay, I got it.
Pretty much. Here we go. This is courtesy of Bet Victor. And there are 3 separate ones that have done stuff, but we're going to go with Bet Victor here.
Okay.
John Kennedy at 4-5.
Sure, makes sense.
Got a couple of them at 4-1. Eddie Howe and Steve Clark.
Steve Clark
Roberto-
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
He just does. Eddie Howe's interesting.
But would Clark leave his?
No, he's not
current
going.
team?
Nobody's leaving anybody. Nobody's leaving a team that's going to the Euros. No, but do they have to right now? No, because what is Celtic really playing for at the moment?
Right. Eddie Howe,
Sorry,
obviously,
Jared. I apologize.
would be ready to go. Lampard is listed at 5-1 at Bet Victor.
Ooh, that's a little bit better than I thought.
Roberto Martinez at 6-1.
Yeah, it feels like a long shot.
Rafa at 8-1.
Yeah, big bag of money. Celtic doesn't have a big bag of money.
At 16-1, Roy Keane.
Surprised that's not lower.
And Enzo Maresca is at 20-1.
Okay.
Then you have Alex Neil, who's at Preston North End at 20-1. Jack Ross at Hibs is 20-1. Sean Maloney at 12-1. Martin O'Neill at 25-1. He's currently at Nottingham Forest. Dan Petrescu at CFR Cluj is at 20-1.
He's still there because I thought he was going to leave like 5 months ago.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, previous team as of the end of November.
Okay, got it. He was there longer than we thought he was going to be, but I didn't know if he was still there or not.
Yeah. Let's see. Michael O'Neill at Stoke is 20. AVB. Andre Villas-Boas is at 20-1.
Oh, give me a juice box on AVB. Give me a juice box on Andres Villas-Boas.
I don't live that charmed of a life, Jason.
Give me a juice box on it. That would be amazing.
It would be great.
Yeah,
it would be a brilliant. It'd be fun.
It would be. It would be.
Could you imagine the press conferences for Old Firm if AVB is involved?
Well, why would they be any different than if Frank Lampard's involved? He's not a press conference guy.
No.
The press conference battle would be Frank Lampard walking in the door and everybody talking about Lampard and Gerrard. That would be the press conference situation. AVB would be the best manager to get, I think.
Let's see. Gordon Strachan at 25. Malky Mackay and Slaven Bilic at 33. Chris Coleman's at 33. As is Chris Davies, Jim Goodwin at St. Mirren. Then you're getting into.
I think we're good.
Yeah, it's like Claudio Ranieri's at 33-1. Louis Van Gaal is at 33-1.
Where is Jose Mourinho on the list?
This is just trying to take money away from people.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Scrolling.
Can I go off the board for Jose Mourinho?
Well, Arsene Wenger, according to one of the agencies, is at 50-1.
They're drunk.
Pochettino is 33-1 at
They are
Victor.
even more drunk and probably behind the times.
Brendan Rodgers at 50-1 at
They are exceedingly plastered.
Allardyce
and that's going to happen.
Allardyce and Dyla are at 66-1 with a different agency.
Send Big Sam over there. Come on.
Okay, here you go. Jose, 66-1.
All right, I'll take a juice box and throw it on Jose for just sheer madness.
Alan Pardew's at 66-1.
Alan Pardew's got like 5 part-time jobs, it feels like, and he's waiting to grab some club. Celtic, I'm sure Alan Pardew has already faxed in his resume.
Yeah. Ali McCoist is at 80, and Kenny Dalglish is at 100-1.
All right.
There you go.
Yeah. Good grief. Jose Mourinho. I do not think it is in any way likely. But I also don't think he will be at Tottenham next year. And I don't think Celtic's going to actually make a hire until the summer where people will be available. And Big Sam could be one of those as well. Big Big Sam might already have sent his resume in under somebody else's name.
I will cut an hour-long promo if this happens.
What about Jose?
Would you? I figure it's a gravy colored and then wafted.
What color is gravy, John?
You like brown?
Have you seen different colors of gravy?
I have not. I mean, I'm just.
Oh, come on, man! Anyway, we gotta leave that alone because that's gonna send us down a big rabbit hole, and we don't want that. Over the rabbit hill, down the rabbit hole. You've only seen one color of gravy in your life.
Gravy, so
good grief!
That's true.
Anyway, Jose Mourinho, Jared. Jose, as we talked about yesterday, I don't think he's going to have the clubs ahead of him in the Premier League calling anymore. I don't think the big, massive mega clubs are going to be calling anymore. It's not a knock on Celtic, but they are a club with a lot of stature, maybe more than their position. Is that fair? Like where they stand in the
wildly fair.
Okay, I'm very careful about this.
The perception of them is far outpacing what they are.
Yeah, okay, and that's maybe the best way to put it. I'm trying to make sure I don't anger anybody who is there and huge fans of these clubs who have incredible histories, but in the grand scheme of things in Europe right now, I mean, they are Europa League knockout round. That's where they kind of are. But that combination of the stature and position and the ability to win league titles fairly easily because it's two teams competing for it, it's a unique spot for Jose to fit into where he would still get a lot of attention, and we know Jose likes the attention. Would you, as a Celtic fan, and now I'm asking you to speak for the whole fan base, have fun, would you cut an hour-long promo about Jose Mourinho walking in the door as a good or a bad thing?
It'd be like 25 minutes probably.
Okay. Is it good or bad?
Jose's not what he was.
Yeah.
I mean, it would fit in what it feels like it would fit with what that board wants of someone who is more old school conservative, kind of behind the times kind of guy. And if what we've gotten out of Jose at Tottenham so this went from being like cutting edge to being very much the opposite of cutting edge. Yeah, that kind of tracks. I just think money would be an issue. I don't think he's going to want to go chill out in Glasgow.
I don't know. I don't think so. But I'm not going to completely and utterly rule it out. He does have a job right now, so we will see.
Yeah.
As Burns says, Steve Bruce would be cheaper than Big Sam, and he'd give you the same football. Oh. Also true.
Yeah. Oh my God!
I'm sorry, Jared. I'm sorry. It's real. This real talk. It does have to be mentioned.
Yeah, no, it tracks with what they. I don't think they'll do another sort of Ronnie Dyla, young guy who is more forward thinking in terms of the way he wants to do training and nutrition and fitness and potentially tactics. I don't think they'll go down that road again. I think they'll go with somebody who's more old school and someone who kind of fits what the board feels like they want, as opposed to something that might be a little bit riskier but might have a bigger reward.
But if they don't have a big bag of money, they might have to go riskier.
Yeah,
which could be helpful for you. I will throw two comments from the Twitch pitch at you as we've talked about Neil Lennon longer than any of us planned, but it is big news.
This was not planned to go this long, and I'm really sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good because it ties us back to a couple things. Will asks, he says, talking stature-wise, does Celtic think they're like Ajax? Do you look at Ajax?
They shouldn't.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but not dramatically far off. Closer to Ajax than the big clubs in England and the big 4-5s and all the other leagues. They can't even
see the big clubs in England.
Yeah,
they're over the hill. Those clubs are over the hill in another county.
Ajax should be something they strive for.
It should be, but they'd actually have to develop young players and actually play them. Aside from leaning on Kieran Tierney's development and selling him to Arsenal for parts, because Kieran Tierney is actually a collection of parts masquerading as a player, not because he's not talented, but because, my God, he can't stay healthy. Everyone in Glasgow knew this when he went to Arsenal. It was like, hey, you get 19 million for him? Great. Cool. That's wonderful. But you're a team that has failed to get in the Champions League for the last few years. When you get there, you're getting your doors blown off by the big teams. In Europa League, should be, aside from this year, you should be what Rangers is, a team that is capable of finishing in the top half of their group in Europa League and taking a scalp or two in the knockout rounds. And if you go above that, cool. But that's what you should be at minimum. You should be.
I think maybe you should be even more. Like, comparing budgets, I would assume that Celtic and Rangers' budgets are among the better ones in the Europa League, outside of the teams that get bumped down from Champions League.
I'd have to look at it, but I mean,
not far off.
I'm sure it's better than a lot of teams, but they're also a mess, top to bottom. So, I mean, you're seeing that with Rangers now, in that they go and they go play a very drunk 4-3 game after they win their group in Europa League. That's what you should be striving for. Because that's what should be. It shouldn't be, oh man, that's amazing, the Rangers did that. It should be expected that the best team in Scotland can go into Europa League if they get a good draw in the group. Now, the draw is going to define a lot of things, but if they get a good draw, they should be in good shape to go in there and get points.
I'm going to put that on a T-shirt. Jarrett Smith, quote, Celtic should be striving for drunkenness.
This is accurate.
Yeah, I might have paraphrased a little bit. Sam Williamson with the last one on Celtic for the morning. Stephen Glass to Celtic. You talk about developing young talent. Well,
buddy, I've been on that train for like 3 months. I even have like the Glasgow hashtag ready.
Wow.
Wow, that's good. I like that.
I just assume he's going to go to Dundee at some point. One of the Dundee clubs.
Or Aberdeen.
Or
where I'm thinking.
I mean, either one. Because he's from Dundee originally. But, Aberdeen doesn't make too much sense, especially if McGuinness gets let go. Although I believe that Neil Lennon actually said something about, like, McGuinness deserves the end of the year, and they should keep him around for the service he's done to the club. Like, that's getting a positive recommendation from Neil Lennon.
Not good.
Feels like the dreaded vote of confidence in college football.
Yeah,
it's not good at all. It's no help at all.
Like, no, I don't want your backing.
All right, we have one last wild card for you from Sam Williamson. It is somebody who is out of work currently. Miguel Herrera to Celtic. Piojo. How would you like that?
They wouldn't know what to do with him.
No, they absolutely wouldn't. And he would.
I don't know if they could afford him either.
I don't know about that necessarily, but
I think they could if they wanted to. I don't know if they're going to want to pay the money to get a bigger name. But
I mean, Miguel Herrera is not asking for Rafa Benitez money. Let's not get confused here.
No, and they wouldn't know what to do with him.
He wouldn't know what to do with all the scotch.
He would not. It would be amazing.
Drunken Piojo in the streets of Glasgow? Wow.
Piojo's getting in a bare-knuckle brawl with people on the touchline.
Daily. Bare-knuckle brawls everywhere, daily.
The first time someone explains to him what the old firm is on the touchline in terms of, like, real significance, he's going to get into a shoving match with somebody on Rangers staff. Just on principle.
Yep. It's going to be ridiculous. That would be amazing, but no. Abby is checking in with her Celtic friends, and the comment on Jose Mourinho was, no thank you. He's just as negative as the manager who left, always blames the players, but picks the same players over and over again without finding a solution.
It's been a long time since 2003, y'all.
Yes.
The Porto team was a damn masterclass that beat Martin O'Neill's Celtic in the UEFA Cup final. It's a long time since 2003.
It's been a long time.
To put it in reference, 2003 was the last time the Braves won a playoff series before this last year. It's been a minute.
That's a long time ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
What else do we have?
Well, we got Atlanta United hitting the training pitch today. First time with Gabriel Heinze in charge. John is doing the Breakfast Club symbolism with the pumping of fists and such. I don't even know how that fits in, but okay. We'll hear what we hear out of it. Nobody is there today from the media. We are still in the midst of a pandemic, so we got to be a little careful with this stuff. let's not get anybody with a COVID scare during preseason, por favor. Let's get a lot of training sessions under the belts with Gabriel Heinze. But pictures are starting to come out. Ronald Hernandez, Joseph Martinez, the two Venezuelans, taking a picture out in front together. It's kind of like the first day of school in a lot of ways. We've got a question that we're going to ask Mike Conti here in just a bit, Jarrett, but let me go ahead and ask you and ask the listeners. This is the start of year number 5 for Atlanta United. And Ricky Ricardo wanted us to ask everyone, what are your 5 Atlanta United, and I'm going to keep it to Atlanta United, storylines going into the 2021 season?
Is Joseph what he was? How does he bounce back? How does the offense click or not click? Does Miles Robinson show what he showed you in 2019? For me, how does the midfield shake out? Because you got a lot of money there that is, you got guys like an Emerson Hyndman who's going to be fighting for minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's not starting, that's a lot of money to be sitting on your bench. Let's see. This is just a me one, but do we see any? How do I phrase this? Do we see anyone pop up on the goalkeeper side? Not necessarily to take Brad's spot, but he is on the. I think it's fair to say he's on the back half of his career.
Yeah.
Does anyone, even with the twos, because Ben Lundgaard was very up and down, does anyone make you look at it and go, that might be the guy for the future? I think that's 3 or 4. I don't know. I've lost count.
It's all good.
Does Barco come good in terms of what people expect of him? I don't think the answer is ever, because I don't think the expectations for him are ever going to be. I think it's kind of a moving goalpost at this point.
Yeah, they keep moving, and I think they keep getting more unfair. Like it's like we don't want it to be good.
Yeah,
probably not, because I don't know if people want to be happy about Barco. Sadly.
Yeah, and then I think I've also got questions for the two, so I don't know if that's a completely different thing, but I want to see who's the next guy to really break through the ceiling. Like we saw Jackson Conway really break through and just do everything short of physically demanding the shot that he's going to get now. Who's next on that? Who's next up on the conveyor belt? Because we've got our guys like Coleman Gannon that we like, that we want to see. Johnny Fortune, another one who is coming through. Will Riley. Who's the next one to really punch through?
Good storylines. Okay, nice job. It's and we want everybody to chime in on this. Give us your hashtag 5 storylines ATL for 2021. If you're a fan of another team, and we do have quite a few fans of other teams who listen to the podcast, make it your own. Make it 5 storylines for Rich Ransom, PHI for Philly. Give us your 5 storylines for your team going into the 2021 MLS season. We'll talk big picture storylines for the league later, but your team as the Champions League teams start to get underway today with training. Everybody else is kind of between the next couple of weeks. Chicago bumped everything up a little bit. They went into their quarantines early, so they could start the first day they could next week. Others, it looks like, are going to take their time, so teams are going to start training over the next 2 weeks. And what are your storylines going in for each of the individual teams? I think it's going to be, it's a fascinating year because of what the beginning is going to be with COVID. We don't know the lingering effects. We don't know what crowd sizes are going to look like. It sounds like you're going to have attendance in a lot of places, but not everywhere. And some you might have bigger attendances. Do you start to see effects of teams having a home field advantage again that really didn't materialize much last year? Yeah. Are you going to see some of these new players come in, struggle like some players we saw come into the league last year, where it was weird and difficult? Definitely weirder and more difficult last year, because you get a couple weeks in And then you might be in a new country, a new place, and everything shuts down and you don't have a support system in place outside of the club. That kind of stuff's going to be really, really difficult. This year it won't be that bad, but it still can be weird. So players who come into the league, how are they going to hit the ground running? It's going to be a fascinating season because you've seen some different types of players come into the league, and I don't think we're done yet. I think this U22 initiative over the first half of the season is going to start to have some big effects with teams that use it effectively, use it properly, and go out and get some promising players. So I'm excited. I'm excited to get this thing underway. I'm excited to see the CONCACAF Champions League get back in early April. Some semblance of a U.S. Open Cup. At least the trophy will be awarded this year. Just excited to get back to something looking more like a normal season.
For MLS side?
No, we won't for a while. They still got to determine the earlier rounds, which are going to be difficult.
I wanted to make sure that I hadn't missed it.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. There's no way to make it fair. And I think that's the thing that everybody's got to put to the side. And I know that's hard because if you want in and you're not allowed in, it's unfair, rabble, rabble, rabble. The way the format's going to be and just the way we're dealing with 21, it's impossible to be fair in any sort of way.
Yeah.
There's no way for that tournament to have any fairness factored into it. You're going to get 24 teams competing for a trophy, period.
So if you're picking teams from MLS, do you pick it based off stature? Do you pick it based off teams you know will take it seriously? I'm looking at you, a team like Dallas. How do you pick those teams?
I don't know.
And do you find like a middle ground for that? We need to make sure if we're taking MLS teams, I don't want to put an MLS team in here who's going to punt it and put their second team out there and waste what's going to be a shorter competition, a more unique competition.
Yeah, the problem is you've got Leagues Cup in the second half of the year. You've got Champions League in the first half of the year for teams. Do you use the Open Cup for the teams in the, that are not getting into those competitions? I guess maybe you could if you want to look at it that way. Do you look at it like you're saying in stature? Do you go down the order of the table from last year and say, do you want in? Do you want in? Do you want in? I don't know. There's no answer. Like, I don't know which way you go. They're gonna determine 8 teams. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how USL Championship, USL League One, NISA, the amateur qualifiers. I don't know how they're going to determine who gets to play in this or not. People will be angry about it. You just have to accept this is not a normal year, and just having a tournament and having a champion is a step from having nothing the year before. I will take this over what happened in 20, where you didn't even have the trophy awarded.
Yeah. Absolutely right there with you, because Tafka, as you were getting into it, Tafka had asked in the timeline if it had been determined as to how Leagues Cup was going to be determined and all that kind of stuff. So
I think, no, Leagues Cup is different. I think Leagues Cup has been determined. Leagues Cup is the teams who are not going to Champions League in that order. Now, they can change it, and I guess teams could opt out, but Leagues Cup has a specific determination. It's Open Cup that doesn't. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Leagues Cup is set up a certain way. I mean, we'll pull it up now so you kind of know, but it's the teams who are not playing in Champions League, essentially, and I believe it was supposed to be expanded from the first time around, which was 4. I think it's 8 from each league was the idea. And it's the next teams in line is what the idea is anyway. And we'll see if that changes. But at least there was something on the table for that. Yeah. I don't know what they'll do for Open Cup.
Yeah, his biggest question was wondering if CCL and Leagues Cup were mutually exclusive.
Yeah, they were always supposed to be. Absolutely, from day one they were supposed to be. I don't know why they'd change that. You're not going to change it long term because you're going to have a group stage in CONCACAF Champions League starting in 23. So you're not going to do it that way for sure.
But no, I've got my 5. I had Joseph like Jarrett, a full season of a player like Marcelino Moreno and how he's going to be for Atlanta United. I had also the young guys and seeing the young guys getting chances like Jackson Conway and George Campbell. The integration of the new faces, Hernandez Ibarra, Eric Lopez, Losandro Lopez, and Sosa. And then just, as you were talking about with fans in the building, the procession to hopefully having fans there in a large percentage. And just so what that's going to be looking like and how that impacts wins and losses and home field advantage. So those were my 5.
Okay. Abby Schiffman's already tweeted hers at us. How quickly will they gel? Joseph back to 100% in how many games? Who steps up as a leader on the field other than Gazan? How exciting Heinze is and keeps it fresh with no fans. And so we want normalcy, but unsure when we have normalcy and when a game will feel like a game it in 2019 did, or at the very beginning of 2020. And I wish I had an answer to that last one, but I don't know. I don't know what that's going to look like. It's probably going to move around, too, is the sad thing. I mean, it feels like every other day we get an update that things are moving in the right direction with vaccines, and then we get an update that, hey, it's not, and hey, here's a variant, and hey, here's good news on vaccines and how they're dealing with variants, and oh, here's bad news, and here's confusing news, and here's disputed news, and and then here's me banging my head against the wall trying to sort it all out. Hopefully by the end of the year, hopefully by the end of the season. It's no guarantee. I mean, people are starting to walk that back a little bit. I don't know. I wish I did. I really do. But I think there could be league-wide enough fans in buildings to have an effect on matches. I don't think we really got there last year with the limited numbers and the teams that were able to do it. I just don't think there was enough of an effect to outweigh the emptiness. Yeah. This year, if you're getting 30%, if you're getting into the 50% range, you might be able to see teams get that boost at home that you're accustomed to at times. I mean, we've talked about it throughout Champions League, and we'll get into Champions League here in a second, as we'll come back to Atlanta United at 10 o'clock. Some teams are kind of getting hosed in Champions League, to be perfectly honest, with the way this is going. And I think Atletico Madrid is going to be one of the main ones, because Atleti, first off, didn't look good against Chelsea yesterday. I know the Chelsea folks are very excited about this, and it's an incredible goal from Giroud. And good on the VAR, good on the referees for getting it right, because it was a tricky situation. There was interpretation to do. It did take a while, but I'm okay with it in this case because it got it. It got the call right. It was the right call. But that match was played in Bucharest because Spain would not allow people in from the UK. Well, now the second leg is going to be in London, according to RMC Sport in France. Atleti's got to be ticked off about that.
Yeah.
It has to be. You're getting into this situation now where you're going to see these kinds of things too, and it's going to have an effect. Atleti needed a boost. They need a boost. Chelsea's going to get a potential boost just by being at home, at least a minimal boost, and having to go play in Istanbul or Bucharest or wherever. Yeah. At least they get to be in their home building. That's a little bit more than Atleti hosting Chelsea and Bucharest.
Yeah, exactly.
It just doesn't make sense. And then you're going to get to a point, and you're going to see it in MLS this year. It seems like MLS might be the league that we start to see this effect, where if you're in California, for example, you might not be able to have fans, period. And then in Orlando, you might have 50% capacity. And Orlando City will have an advantage from that. Miami can have an advantage from that. Whereas the California teams might not. The Canadian teams aren't even in Canada. It's going to skew the competition a little bit when we get past that, like 10% or 15%. When you're getting into 30% plus of buildings open, an effect can be had. A home field advantage can be created, I think.
Yeah, and I think you're right on. I think that the teams that miss out on, and since we're talking Champions League, the teams that missed out on it, like an Atleti, they have every right to be pissed because they're going into a home field advantage for the second leg. But, taking it to MLS with all the displacement and all the different rules of engagement that there are state by state, it's going to be one of those interesting case studies to sit there and look at, okay, well, if the team is playing a home match and you have X, then how does it all lay out across the board, especially early on in the year.
Well, I mean, the way it lays out is you're going to get people in the building because you need the revenue. And the league is not going to say, hey, Orlando, you're playing LAFC, and they can't have fans right now, so we don't think it's fair for you to have fans. No.
Right.
You're not going to do that because you've got to bring in the revenue. You're telling Orlando City not to make money.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that right now. So it will have an effect. And without knowing what it looks like all season long, we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But, yeah, questions about Atlanta United's first game, which will be in CONCACAF Champions League. It is going to be at Fifth Third Bank Stadium. There has not been an announcement on fans. Kennesaw State is playing their spring football season as opposed to playing the fall season because the Division 2, 3, and the FBS is it FBS or FCS? I always mix the two up because it's a really stupid designation. I get mad about saying that because that's not what it's supposed to be either.
FCS is 1AA. So
Thank you.
FCS. D3 in the NAIA.
FCS is doing the spring season as well, and Kennesaw is going to have fans for those games.
Yeah, 2,000, 25%.
So there you go. People were asking about why that Champions League game is not at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I believe there's some work being done at Mercedes-Benz, and it was, I'm assuming, booked during the pandemic where it wasn't really sure what was going to happen. So that's what I've heard. I don't know exactly what's being done, but anyway, that's where it is. It's probably easier in the situation, although it's all weird because I think people would want to go to a game if they could, but I don't know how many fans they would allow at Mercedes-Benz right now. I don't know what that percentage would look like. Maybe you can do more at a smaller venue, maybe more comfortably anyway, maybe a little more safely at a smaller venue that is very wide open. I don't know. These are things beyond my pay grade, y'all. I wish I knew kind of the scientific thoughts behind it because that factors into these decisions too. I don't know. Let's talk about the rest of Champions League because we'll talk a lot of Atlanta United with Mike here at 10 o'clock. So Lazio, who I thought would have a good performance because they've been playing fairly well and Bayern had been playing dreadfully. I thought Lazio would be all right. No, they were terrible. Bayern was good. Lazio was terrible. Bayern is in great shape now. Robert Lewandowski is now the third leading all-time goal scorer in the Champions League behind Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. He broke his tie with Raul of Real Madrid. Hansi Flick, unbeaten in his first 15 games in the Champions League. He's won 14 of those. It's absurd. The only other manager to have a longer unbeaten start in the competition is Louis van Gaal, 19 games with Ajax, 94-96. So Hansi Flick is doing some incredible things. Bayern has a huge bounce back. They do what they do. They pounced on Lazio's mistakes. This one's done. I mean, Bayern in a cakewalk. Huge bounce back for them.
Yep, and Ricky Ricardo had yesterday on the show, he said Bayern big, like 3-0 or 4-1, and so he came back this morning and says, peep the Bayern score with a wink. So he was right on.
Shut up!
I'm jinxing everybody right now. When I pick something, go the other way right now. My luck is bad.
Well, and that's just me in general.
No. Right, you're better than you think. You play the sandbagging game a lot. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm usually all right. I'm in a bad run right now. I'm jinxing everybody. So whatever I pick, go the other direction, running away from it right now. Right now, it'll turn. I'll get my mojo back. But right now, it's bad. It's really, really bad. You got two games today, Borussia Mönchengladbach and Manchester City. You've got Atalanta and Real Madrid. Real Madrid's missing a lot of people, a lot of injuries. Zinedine Zidane said he's not going to risk players right now who are not 100%. No Karim Benzema. 9 players missed Saturday's win, 1-0 over Valladolid. If Real Madrid wins here, it's probably going to be something like that. They are grinding out results right now. 11 fit senior players for the first leg in Bergamo today. He said, we never take risks. Maybe we would if it was the Champions League final or the last game of the league season with the title on the line. But there's a long way to go. It's Eden Hazard, Sergio Ramos, Dani Carvajal, Marcelo, Benzema. I mean, just keep going down the list. It is very, very bad. Atalanta is feeling very energized based off of this, as they should, and this is an intriguing game because my guess is Atalanta, even more so than normal, goes for it here in such a big way. Put everything on the line today with Real Madrid missing this many players because they might be back when you see them. What are the numbers looking like? Have they moved?
Not really. Atalanta went from Monday night at plus 131 to a plus 134. The draw option Monday night was plus 270. It's down to a plus 259, and Real Madrid shifted slightly from a plus 200 to a plus 204.
Would have thought that would have moved more. I would have thought Atalanta would have been more of a favorite. Both teams have won their last three in all competitions. This is the first time they have ever played competitively. Atalanta's only previous meeting against the Spanish side in European competition was last year when they played Valencia in round of 16. They won that. Atalanta, strangely, has not won a home game in Champions League this year. They're the only team left to not win one at home, and still they're here. Very strange. Real Madrid have won each of their last 5 games in Italy, and they've scored 12 goals, only conceded 1. That's a wild run. Zinedine Zidane and Real Madrid owning Italy at the moment. He's won 12 of his 13 Champions League knockout ties. The only loss was last year against Manchester City. They've got the pedigree. They don't have the players. What did we all pick on this one on Monday night?
You and Nick had Atalanta. Jarrett and I had the draw.
I'm still going with it, even though my juju is not good these days. I'm still going with Atalanta to win this. I think this is a final for them. And they need to win it. They need to win it convincingly because Real Madrid should be at closer to full strength when they play again here in a few weeks. I still think Atalanta wins.
Yeah, I mean, I just, in that grinder theory that we were talking about, I think it's probably 1-1, and that was what I was looking at. With all of the folks that aren't there, I figure Real Madrid tries to get in and get out of Dodge as quickly as possible, so I think it's 1-1.
I'm just going to leave you talking about a grinder theory off to the side, not even comment on that one. Manchester City and Borussia Mönchengladbach. Where is this game being played, John?
Where is this game being played? You had to. Okay. I'm doing typey here.
Mm-hmm. This was a question on the trivia last night for Soccer in the Streets, and thank you to everybody who played.
Is it Budapest or Bucharest?
It is Budapest.
Thank you.
Is that the Puskás Arena?
Because I went the other way and I said Bucharest, and I missed it because of that, because it was one or the other.
Well, maybe that cost you winning the trivia contest then.
No, I was like 2,000 points out of third.
Mm-hmm. If you got that one right, you would have been a lot closer. Just saying. Borussia Mönchengladbach, not in the best of form lately, and Manchester City is in the best of form. The best of form you're going to find. It's been pretty amazing. 18 straight wins. 18. They haven't lost since November. 18 clean sheets in their last 25 for Manchester City. This shouldn't be difficult, should it? I don't think I can get this one wrong. I'm probably
we all had City.
Yeah, I don't see how this goes a different direction. I just don't. On
the weekend, Pep didn't play Rodri, Foden, Kyle Walker, or De Bruyne. They did not factor in the match. He's
cakewalking right now. He can play whoever he wants, and they're winning games and getting clean sheets.
Yeah, and so saving him for this one. So I think that this is pedal down about as A plus a lineup as you're going to put out there to try to put Mönchengladbach out of reach in the first leg.
Yeah, you don't even necessarily have to go to A plus, to be honest, because you are managing things. They host West Ham on the weekend. You should be fine. If there's anybody with any injuries, I know there's questions about De Bruyne. I think there was a slight question about Gundogan, like maybe one doesn't start because of that.
Groin, yeah.
You manage it. You don't have to go too crazy here because you're getting strong performances across the board. You know, I mean, whoever you want to say. Foden's been amazing here lately. Diaz has been great in the back. You're getting great performances across the board for Manchester City. So next guy up is the way you can play this thing. There's a couple things specifically about Borussia Mönchengladbach, too, to look for if you're watching this one. They generally, they'll drop quicker than a lot of teams in Germany will. They do have a pressing element to their play, but they will drop if that first line of the press is broken. They'll drop faster and try to get a little bit deeper. They also get compact. They get compact in the middle, so they tighten up centrally, which means Manchester City, with their positional play idea, can get out wide and find dangerous players in wide positions, whether it's Mahrez, whether it's Foden, whether it's Sterling if he's in that role. Give them 1v1s, they're going to win a lot of them for you. But then the other thing where Borussia Mönchengladbach's had some very specific things, there's a great piece at Total Football Analysis that goes into far more detail on this. But they give the 1v1s up out wide. We know Manchester City's looking for the 1v1s. They win a lot of the 1v1s. Okay, then what? That's where Mönchengladbach's back line can really fall apart, and they've given up a lot of goals in this sense. So the fullback gets beaten, the center back has to step out, the communication breaks down, and there's openings. And City does a really good job of that drive in. Don't drive to the end line and put in a cross. Drive into the penalty area and cut it back to the top of the six. That's what they do so well, and that is what Gladbach has had problems with. That's why, even with my bad luck lately, I feel really good about the Manchester City pick, because I think beyond the form that they're in, it's just a tough matchup for Mönchengladbach. City does the things well that Gladbach doesn't defend well, so it's going to be pretty tough.
Yeah, Mönchengladbach Monday night was at plus 827. They've gone up to a plus 968.
Ooh.
Your draws up slightly from 476 to plus 493. Manchester City from a minus 312 to a minus 345.
Oof. Yeah, it would be an epic upset to get a draw. It would be an even more epic upset to find a win if you are Borussia Mönchengladbach. We've got some updates, too, on the Europa League, and there is a Europa League game today. Tottenham is playing Wolfsberger. Is this in the UK, or is this somewhere else?
Let's see.
It is. I got it. It's at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I'm faster than you.
Okay.
John. I got it. It shouldn't be much in it. Tottenham has a large lead going into this. They're at home. They've got a 4-1 lead. They're playing a weaker team. They should be fine. They should get to rest Harry Kane and Son. They should be okay. So I don't think there's a whole lot in that one. Where there is some news is over in Belgium. Game tomorrow, and we'll get into Europa League more tomorrow with the rest of the calendar. But go ahead and tell us the news, John.
What about Brugge?
Yes, go ahead and tell us the news.
They're a plus 106. Dynamo Kiev is a plus 273, and the draw is a plus 246. What have I missed out?
Simone Mignolet has tested positive for COVID.
Oh, yeah.
Which means that Ethan Horvath will be playing tomorrow, U.S. men's national team goalkeeper. Club, who, John?
Nah, I can only do it once.
Do it. Stop. Don't play that game. Do it. The fans love it.
They do not.
Yes, they do. Do it.
Brugge.
Thank you. You could have went softer than that. You didn't have to go that crazy with it.
But then people sit there and it's like, oh, well, where's your levels?
Because
I can't hear
it's the second or third one. People give you more benefit of the doubt than that. They got 7 players who have tested positive.
And they're still favored. Wow.
Yes. A quote from a fan of John's favorite club said, their attack is completely beheaded. Their 3-star attacking players are out. They drew 1-1 in Kiev without a couple of them. They're going to have to be good defensively. Huge game for Ethan Horvath. If they keep a clean sheet because they got a goal on the road, they are through. Can Ethan Horvath do it?
Yes. But but seriously, looking at the numbers in the juice boxes where Brugge is still a plus 106.
Weak.
I mean, all those absences, and you're a plus 106.
The news is fairly recent, and I don't think Dynamo Kiev has actually been all that great either.
So that's and that is one of the 3:00 games tomorrow afternoon, by the way.
A couple more on the UEFA front. We've mentioned Zlatan Ibrahimovic and what I felt, and some others have felt like he should have been investigated for racial comments to Romelu Lukaku. Sounds like that is being washed away. Now, UEFA has appointed a disciplinary investigator to look at allegations that Zlatan himself was racially abused when Milan played at Red Star last week. Ibrahimovic was sitting in the stands as a substitute. The game was in Serbia. Footage appeared to detail insults shouted at him. The alleged abuse targeted Ibrahimovic's Balkan family roots. He was born in Sweden to parents from Bosnia and Herzegovina and Croatia. No tickets were sold. The people that were in the building were Red Star club officials and guests in the main stand. So this is going to be investigated, and it absolutely should. And if you have it on tape and there is footage and you know what the insults are, then ding Red Star in a massive way. That is awful.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no fans and you're still getting this stuff. Also, on the UEFA front and in the club world, we've got some national team stuff to talk about later. One thing that I don't think that's talked about much because it's usually nothing to worry about, the licenses to participate in UEFA competitions for clubs. One thing clubs have to make sure they do is pay their players and pay their staff and not have debts to them to be licensed to participate in the next year's competitions. UEFA has made it easier for that to happen for 2021 and 2022. Inter is a club in Italy that needed that to be an easier route. They have not paid their salaries for November and December. 24.8 million euro is the total amount. Now, UEFA has introduced an exemption to the obligation to pay all salaries and employees of the previous year if the amount left doesn't exceed 15% of each player's salary in the last calendar year. So if you're 85% good in the last calendar year with your players, you're okay. Don't have to be 100% good anymore, or at least right now it's 85%. They've got to pay, Inter's got to pay $2.5 million to this group of people out of what they owe to get to that 15% number. They probably would not have been able to handle the $20 million number that they would have needed. They should be all right here to get their license to participate in next year's competitions. There still could be some clubs that don't. I mean, even with that, there still could be some clubs that have some problems. So UEFA trying to make it a little bit easier. Clubs are behind on payments, which is not a shock. They're operating with no revenue coming in from game days at the moment, or very little. All right. We got Mike Conti coming up after John's, maybe, I don't know if this is your favorite thing for the fans, or if they like the your Belgian club that you like to talk about. I don't know which one is their favorite, but this is one of their favorite of your segments, and it is where you tell us about Steve Apolinski. And it's coming.
Apolinski and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, there's only one place you need to go to get your questions answered, and it is Apolinski and Associates, LLC. How do you get your questions answered, you may ask? Well, we will tell you. You can get a free consultation by giving Steve a call at 404-377-9191. You can shoot Steve an email directly, steve@aa-legal.com, or you can go on the World Wide Web, large device or small. People have both these days. Laptop, phone, whatever your favorite device is. Desktop, maybe. One of those. You can reach out. You type in aa-legal.com into the taskbar. Hit the enter key, the return key, the arrow key. Whatever gets you to the homepage of Apolinski and Associates, LLC. And if your questions are not answered by the wealth of information that is there. There's a pop-up window that pops up. You get your questions answered that way. Pop-up windows pop up. Therefore, the name, 24/7, 365 and a quarter. Get your questions answered that way if it is still something that is on your mind. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for their clients in the Eastern and Central time zones, but it's only in Georgia and Alabama. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, there's only one place you need to go. It is Apolinski & Associates, LLC, and the website is aa-legal.com.
That was interesting.
Well, I couldn't remember desktop.
Okay. You have one in front of you.
I know, and I'm staring right at it, and I couldn't remember. It's like I've got laptop and then this big thing right here. And they're also recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine for being one of the top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia. Oh. So there you go. People want me to change the read. I did an omission.
Okay. You got a -1. You got a -1. Your vocal cords are still affected by Club Brugge. Or I'll go Bruges. I'll be French today. Some people just go back and forth like in the same commentary, which is really weird. Off the rails. What is going on? So off script. Do not discriminate against medium-sized devices. Ha 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 ha.
I'm not discriminating against a medium-sized or a small device. I have one right here next to
me. We will tell you, only listening to you. Women and children first. John pauses to ponder the number of devices in the multiverse. Abandoned ship. He got lost in the woods and never made it home. 5.45. Man, I just got here.
Subtracting 4 points for being lost in the woods, huh?
These are all different people, John. There's a whole lot of people who are commenting on things.
Okay. So you were running down the gauntlet. Okay.
Yes, because there's a gauntlet. 4, 5. That was odd. I'm not sure what happened. This is what happens when John goes off script. Can't remember the device types. 6.7.
No, he just can't remember the device types anyway. It doesn't have to do with it.
Feeling nutty, 8.5. -1 rambling about devices and reaching out. -1 just lost. -4 forgot the line. 1.2345. That's from the East German judge.
Of course.
-4 for seemingly improvising on the fly. -1 started a little fast. Middle strong. Device tangent, -2. Pop-up window explanation, -1. Little long, -2. Overall, 4.
Damn.
Not sure how to score this one. Oof. 5.2378. Like the new mix, 7.3. Too much of a pause with the devices, then some quickness, off on timing, 4.022, 42021. John asking the Big Bad Wolf for directions to grandma's. The device tangent piqued my interest, to be honest. A 9? Wow.
Wow.
A 24 out of South Georgia.
There you go.
A -5.
Better than yesterday.
A -5 is the final score. Just don't ever do that again. You owe us points.
Wow.
But
that's a first.
What people are actually owed is Mateo making a call to Mike Conti. Thank you, John, for just jumping ahead and going spoiler on me. John's still reeling from his read. John tried to get creative on the read today, Mike. It didn't go so well.
That never usually is a recipe for success.
Tried to freewheel it.
People are sitting there trying to go, hey, dude, your read's getting stale, so change it up a little bit.
Now he's getting defensive.
Are you drinking a Guinness?
He should be.
At 10:06. Oh, it's okay. It's is that an Auburn cup?
Yeah, it's a
the way you were brandishing that, I thought for a second you were drinking a Guinness. Like, whoa, John.
That's why I got a -5 from the East.
I think you'd get a 27 if you were drinking a Guinness and doing the read.
Man, John is pumped up about it being day one of training camp. Bottoms up at 10.
Yeah, brother.
It is the first day of training camp.
Up. It's a lot to celebrate. I'm excited, guys.
Happy training camp, Mike.
I'm excited. And, you know, look, it's unfortunate that it's not the usual day one of training camp where we're all out at the training ground and we're talking to people and we get to see the guys for the first time in forever. I mean, that's a little bit of a bummer that we can't be out there. But I'm still really, really excited because it means we're getting close. We're inside of 6 weeks to the first competitive fixture of the year. I would have to think we're going to have some preseason friendlies. I mean, I haven't really been told anything specifically, but I've been led to believe there are going to be some friendlies. We're going to have the kit release or kit launch, on Friday. So, pitchers and catchers have reported as far as I'm concerned. It's a really exciting day, and I'm fired up. I am really, really fired up. Not as fired up as, dark stout John over there, but still pretty fired up.
No. Can we get some, everybody uses pitchers and catchers like it's this magical phrase. Can we get goalkeepers and midfielders report or something like that? Can we come up with our soccer equivalent?
Strikers and keepers report.
Yeah, I got to put that to the Twitch pitch. That's a good call. Goalkeepers kind of always practice off to the side, don't they?
Like catchers in some ways.
Yeah, and like pitchers, they kind of do their own thing off to the side. But pitchers also take batting practice. I don't know if Brad Guzan ever practices taking penalties. I would assume probably at some point of some training session he probably does.
Yeah.
But maybe I don't know. Maybe we go with goalkeepers and strikers report.
I'm gonna show love for the midfielders. They're the heart of everything. So I would play a bunch of midfielders if I could in my team. You did open up a question though that I'm going to start with. So taking penalties, you might have to in CONCACAF.
Yeah.
Out of the just average 11 you might have on the field, if you get to that point, where do you think Brad would fit?
Not 11th, I don't think.
I don't think so either.
I don't think 11th. There might be, I guess, some etiquette reasons that could put him 11th, but I would probably put him ahead of, I don't want to name names because people might get offended.
No, because we don't know who would be on the field at that time, but just in general.
Well, let's assume it's the first choice 11. I'd say Brad would probably be 8th or 9th.
I could see that.
Not 11. Not 11. He'd probably put a hole in the back of the net if he hit it.
That's my gut feeling, is he wouldn't be last. I don't know if he'd be up to 8th, but I don't think he would be your last option. I think he'd get one before that. I don't know why I have that feeling, because I don't think he's ever taken a penalty in a competitive situation, but I would love to see it.
All I know is this: if there is a competitive situation in which Brad is taking a penalty and we're doing the match, I will have probably had a heart attack by then.
Yeah, that's accurate.
You might be calling it, Jason, so just prepare yourself.
That is accurate. I also have to ask you, because we have a question of the day submitted by Ricky Ricardo, since it is the start of Season 5. What are your 5 Atlanta United storylines going into the season?
Wow. Good job, Ricky. I like that. So storyline number 1, obviously, is Heinze and learning about him and adapting to him and trying to figure out what's going to be different under him. And that's from, philosophy to positioning to tactics to the way he's going to operate camp to the way he's going to associate with players to the way he's going to associate with fans, associate with the media. It could be very much the same as it's been the last 4 years, or it could be totally different. We don't know. But adapting to Heinze absolutely is story number 1. I think story number 2 is Joseph Martinez's recovery. Darren said on the radio yesterday that Joseph has been engaged in these individual kind of training moments that they've been having over the last couple of days. And just to be clear, I don't think the coaches or any technical staffers were allowed to be present at that. So I don't know how formal it actually was. But, we know that Joseph's out there playing soccer. So where is he in terms of his recovery? Does he feel 100%? Is he going to play at 100%? And how tricky is it going to be for Heinze and the staff to kind of keep the governor on Joseph a little bit in this preseason? Because you don't want Joseph playing at 110% in the preseason when he's coming off a catastrophic knee injury. So that would be number 2 for me. I think number 3 would be the assimilation of these 5 newly signed South American players. One on loan, but, Sosa, Ibarra, Hernandez,
Lopez and
Lopez. Thank you. How are they going to assimilate into this group? How are they going to fit into this group? Are they going to have to earn first choice opportunities. How are they going to be a fit in the dressing room culturally, and are they going to help kind of be a bridge for the returning players to relate to Heinze? Because I think some of them probably have a degree of familiarity with Heinze that, guys who have been here for 3, 4, 5 years maybe, lack or do not have. Number 4 would be the opportunities before Bello, Robinson, and Lennon, potentially. I was pleasantly surprised to see Lennon on the initial Olympic qualifying roster yesterday. That was not a possibility I really considered, but he's there, and that's great for him. Going down to Guadalajara now for Olympic qualifying, the opportunity that's in front of them, and the chance to be a part of Olympic qualifying and not necessarily have their club training disrupted, but maybe kind of enhance their training experience over the next 6 weeks. And what's going to be the expectation of them with the U.S. men's national team U23s, and how is that going to impact how they assimilate into Heinze's system with Atlanta United? I know that's very wordy. I'll condense it. Storyline number 4, Robinson, Bello, and Lennon. And then I think storyline number 5, guys, is what kind of meaningful fixtures can you put together in the preseason to get this side match ready for April 17th? It's been really interesting. Last year, Atlanta United steamrolled through the preseason. Looked great. I think they only gave up, 2 goals in the preseason. It just looked fantastic. And that was a really good springboard into a 2-0 start and, an advancement through the round of 16 in the CONCACAF Champions League, because Frank de Boer put together a really competitive, meaningful slate of preseason fixtures that had this team ready. Whereas maybe we look back at 2018, where Atlanta United played in the Carolina Challenge Cup and they played on a off pitch in Nashville, and they go into Houston against a team that had played a bazillion preseason fixtures, and they got smoked. So I'll be real. I know it's not much of a storyline, but to me, I think it's incredibly important. Mm-hmm. What is this club going to be able to do within the limits of the health and safety protocols, which really haven't been made too terribly public when it comes to preseason fixtures? But I think we are assuming that there's not going to be, Gwen agrees with me, there's not going to be MLS on MLS competition in the preseason.
Actually, Gwen was disagreeing with you.
Okay, tell me what you know, because I am unaware of that.
You are getting reporting around the league. The Tucson event is reportedly on, and Columbus will be participating in that.
Okay. That's not typically a competition that Atlanta United, right. Well, they've never participated in that.
There's a couple teams that are going to be in Orlando at various stages as well, and I would assume they'd be playing one another, and Orlando would probably be part of that. So, yeah, I didn't expect it either, but and nothing's been announced outside of Columbus did announce their plans for preseason that included going out west, that included Orlando, but nothing about games yet.
Yeah, I mean, I had been led to believe that Atlanta United might be looking at bringing in some local competition for some local preseason friendlies, which would be closed door. But that's good news, that there could be MLS on MLS. But you also have to be careful with that in a way, because, like you said, Columbus is going to Tucson. That's very interesting for a team that's going to be in Champions League. So I don't know how the calendars are going to align and how that's all going to work out, but you don't want to go too hard in your preseason friendly slate either and burn yourself out before you get to the CONCACAF Champions League. Atlanta United, when they were in Bradenton last year, I think they played Red Bulls, and I want to say one other MLS
I think it was
team.
Philadelphia.
Yes, you're right, Jason, before they played Elfsborg.
Yeah.
So maybe it could be something like that. I don't know. I have not been told. So I'm very curious. That's my 5th storyline. What's this preseason going to look like from a fixture standpoint? Because they've got to play some competitions. They have to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Mike, I had thrown in there the idea of looking at the younger guys that have come up through the academy and the twos, like a Jackson Conway and a George Campbell, and seeing how they're going to take their next steps as a part of the growth from within, and seeing guys like Marcelino Moreno and Jurgen Damm and a healthy Ezequiel Barco, who we only got to see in bits and pieces because of where they were. And in Barco's case, you start, you're injured, then it's all hiccups and fits and starts all the way through. With Moreno and Damm, they're brought in, all of the integration with folks like that. And then also, fans coming into the building and what that's going to look like and what your percentages are going to be and how that could impact home field advantage when we get into the season too.
That's such a good point, John, because I think Atlanta United really suffered probably more than just about any other club in this league by having the reduced or eliminated fan attendance at home matches. It's just such an advantage for Atlanta United when they get to play in a full Mercedes-Benz stadium. And I guess nothing has really been publicly announced on that yet. I think the plan will be to really take it 1 week at a time, one match at a time. Yeah. You almost have to, right? You don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. You don't want to underpromise either. I think you have to be really careful about that. So my bet is by mid-April, I don't see Atlanta United playing a closed-door regular season fixture this year in Atlanta. I don't see it. Even at the very beginning of the season, I don't think anything would be truly closed-door. But yeah, how much are you going to be able to have? Is it going to be 6,000 like last year? Can you double that? Can you triple that? Is the goal to eventually at some point open the whole thing up? That's a really, really good question. And I don't think I would not expect to get an answer on that until quite the last minute. But I know they're going to make every effort possible to get as many people the opportunity to see a match if they want to see it this year. I'm sure of that within, obviously, the bounds of safety and doing everything responsibly.
Yeah, it's such a hard thing to predict, and it will factor in. I think it will affect the Eastern Conference race, as we've talked about, because you're going to have some teams. I know New Jersey is saying 15% right now for their outdoor venues. Ohio's saying 30%. Toronto is, I guess, going to be in Tampa. I don't know if that's official yet, but that's what they were looking at. That's where the Raptors are. So, what is Toronto going to draw in Tampa? I have no idea. And is it going to actually be rooting for them? Also, no clue. Probably not. Orlando, Miami will probably have good-sized crowds. It's going to have an impact on the race, I think.
Yeah, I think if you look at it in the East, the only places right now where I would not be very confident about having anything at all in terms of fans would be D.C., Chicago, and New England. Those would be the three right now, and I'm mainly taking what I've seen in the NBA, guys.
Yeah, no, that's important.
That's kind of my baseline for this. DC, the Wizards have had nothing this year in terms of fans. Same with Chicago, same with the Celtics. Those would be the three that I would think probably, as it looks right now, you're looking at the highest chance of completely closed doors to begin the year. Jason's absolutely right. The Florida teams will, heck, I don't know if there is a state restriction at all right now on the Florida teams. I honestly do not know that. Yeah. New Jersey, Jason mentioned. New York, they have said that the Knicks can allow fans right now to Madison Square Garden, but fans would have to take a COVID test prior to entering the building. So I don't know, with it being an outdoor venue like Yankee Stadium. I think the other thing, it's my understanding, guys, that the Yankees are not planning, at least initially, to have fans. At least initially. So if you're not going to have fans for the Yankees, I don't know how you could have fans for New York City unless you do what you did last year and you move New York City into Red Bulls, at least temporarily, to maybe get them some fans. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania had outdoor attendance for the Steelers and Eagles in December, so I would think Philadelphia is probably okay. Nashville seems like they should probably be okay to have some fans. Columbus had fans at the Cup final, obviously. Cincinnati, I think I had seen some guidance from the Reds that they were going to have 30% to begin the year.
That was coming from the governor. I think that's supposed to become official tomorrow is when he was going to make that decree about 30% for outdoor venues.
Right. And, Cincinnati obviously going into their new stadium, that would be pretty neat for them. So I think we're looking at, again, this is just spitballing, but I think we're looking at probably all but 3 teams in the East that'll be able to welcome fans. I think the bigger question as we wait for the schedules to come out, guys, is are you going to have interconference games this year? Are you going to go to regional pods again to try to reduce travel and have day of game travel when possible? We know that the charter flights are still mandated for now. It's not in the CBA, but it's a league directive for now. The charter flights have to continue. So what I wonder is, are we going to go to something we saw at the end of last year where they put the schedule out maybe 1 or 2 months at a time, and they start in regional scheduling pods and they go out from there? I think my personal opinion on that is, if you're going to be playing in the CONCACAF Champions League and you're going to be sending Atlanta United down to Costa Rica and you're going to be sending teams down to Mexico and the Dominican Republic and all these places in Central America, I don't know how you could then turn around from a league standpoint and say, well, Atlanta's got to play Miami, Toronto, and Orlando because they're down in Florida. I don't know how you could do that as a league. I have a feeling, and the TV partners will probably have a say in this too, that you're going to have interconference games straight away. And again, I think there is a benefit to front-loading home games for teams and venues that can be open. Mm-hmm. I think it's just good business for the league. It might stink from a competitive balance standpoint, but let's help these owners out right now. Let's help the league get some cash. It's important. And if that means that Miami, Orlando, Toronto playing down in Tampa, and the Texas teams are going to be home for the first month of the season, I think you have to do it. I really do. And if you have to, DC back in 2018 played 14 of their first 15 matches on the road, didn't they? And the one they played at home was at the Soccerplex. Sometimes that's just what you have to do, unfortunately. And I would not blame Major League Soccer at all if they tried to front load the schedule in venues where you can have fans. If it means Chicago and D.C. have to wait, they have to wait. But, the fiscal health of the league is very, very important right now. If you believe what the league has said, that they stand to lose potentially another $1 billion this year.
I mean, it's when you look at everything going on, I mean, it's trying to be, it's a delicate balance in trying to be prudent, trying to be safe, and at the same time still not have to go through what you went through economically in 2020. And I mean, this is a delicate dance across the board for all the sports that we're following, and for Major League Soccer that lost, according to the front office, lost billion with a B to try not to do that for the second year in a row. It's a delicate dance that you're having to go through here, Mike.
It is, but I think it can be done safely in outdoor venues with social distancing. Flat out. I mean, did we have any reports of widespread community transmission at outdoor sporting events that were socially distanced in the United States or really anywhere in the world since this thing began? I am not aware of it, and I could be wrong. I'm not.
It hasn't been widely publicized at all. If it has,
exactly. If it's happened, it hasn't been widely publicized, and you would think that if something like that did happen, it would be widely publicized. So, again, I'm not saying cram 30,000 people into Exploria Stadium. I'm not saying cram 60,000 people into Nissan Stadium. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I think we learned through the NFL playoffs, through what Major League Baseball did in its postseason, that outdoor events, when socially distanced, and everyone does their part and does what they need to do to be safe, you can pull it off.
Yeah, Super Bowl 55 was, 1/3 capacity at Raymond James?
Yeah. Now, again, I think it's a little too soon to know for sure if anything came out of that. But, I look at some of the NASCAR races they had over the summer. Like, they had 30,000 people at Bristol for the All-Star race. No reports of any widespread community transmission there, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything.
You look at all the college football games this fall, especially in the South, where, stadiums were 20 to 30%. Never really heard about any major widespread community, transmission. So, again, smarter people than I are making these decisions. And John is 1,000% right that everyone has got to prioritize safety over revenue right now. And I hope no one thinks that I'm suggesting otherwise, because I'm absolutely not. But I also think there's no doubt that in some parts of this country, there is a more permissive attitude right now towards holding outdoor events that are socially distanced. And if that's the case, it would be in the league's best interest to try to get as many fixtures in those places early as possible and give more time to other parts of the country that aren't ready to take that step yet. Give them more time to get to the point where then they would be comfortable doing it.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything on events that we've seen that are socially distanced with mask, at least encouragement.
Right.
The ones that we saw, and Byrne pointed it out on the Twitch pitch, and it came to mind for me, the Atalanta-Valencia Champions League game that was in early March last year. So it was when people were still kind of sticking their heads in the sand about all of this. And there's been stories of that being a super spreader event. But that was full capacity. That was, mask wearing not encouraged.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, there was a high school basketball playoff game in Indiana in early March. Full gym, no one wearing masks. And they had problems there. Absolutely. Those are not what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm talking
February
about
19th. Thank you, Bernd. I thought it was out later than that, actually. It was maybe even pre-sticking our head in the sand about it.
Right, before
Completely.
we even knew.
Yeah.
So that's my point. Like, if you have people 6 feet apart wearing masks outdoors, we've tried that, and to my knowledge, again, and I could be totally wrong, but I have not seen anything publicized to the contrary. To my knowledge, we haven't had a problem yet.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, it's the balance. It's the balance you got to walk right now. I mean, the safety obviously is number one, but revenue is an important element here, and it's an important element for a league that is trying to grow. And the stories in Europe, I don't think people are talking about these things here yet, but let's do the math really quickly, and you get your revenue back. You get people back in the building, and you're not going to get all of it back this year. 2022 is probably where you're hoping to have a normal revenue stream from match day. Okay? Right. You're getting revenue back. You're not getting new revenue. Like, you're getting back to where you were. You're going to have 1 year of big losses, a second year of losses, significant, some teams more significant than others, that getting what you had back doesn't change it. Like, you still have those losses that you're trying to deal with. Now, of course, MLS teams are probably a little bit better positioned to write those off as investment, sure, but people don't like to lose a bunch of money. So what are you going to do to find new money?
Yeah.
Because everybody is thinking it's fixed when you get people back. That just gets you back to where you were. That doesn't deal with the losses. And you're seeing Serie A talk about selling a percentage of their broadcast rights to private investment. Now that's being talked about in Germany, and that's a little surprising. The Bundesliga is exploring doing essentially the same thing, a minority stake in their international media rights. Private equity firms are circling around. They're looking at how this would look. And the Bundesliga is an interesting one because they're going to get more than MLS would internationally, but they're not England international TV rights level. They're not Spain. In England, 1.6 billion euro international broadcast rights. La Liga, and this would probably go down dramatically if Lionel Messi leaves, but 897 million euro. Bundesliga was 240 million euro, just under $300 million internationally. That's taken the domestic rights out, which they took a hit on, by the way. These are the things where I think we need to look at what MLS does to not just get back to normal, but where do they make up the losses? Do they try to exploit international broadcast rights more? Do they try to grow the Leagues Cup, which we really haven't seen be anything yet? Do they try to come up with other competitions like that? Do they try to sell more players? Like, that is going to be where the league really changes. Like, getting back to normal is great, and it's necessary, but how do they find new money? That's the part that's going to be the story.
I think it's all of that, don't you?
Yeah, it's both, for sure, but I like, for MLS, could they sell a share of their international broadcast rights to private equity? I don't know if there's a market for it. What else could they do to recoup losses? That's the part that I'm intrigued to see what happens.
Well, there's one very immediate way that you can make back probably $600 million.
That's a lot. How?
Add 2 more teams.
Well,
True.
You could do it. You could go to 32. You could go to 4 8-team divisions. That would get you there right now. You have to be careful about doing that, obviously, because you've got to go into the right markets. And I have been on the record before as saying that I think you do run the risk of overexpanding. I do think there's a deep enough talent pool.
Yeah, I don't worry about that. I truly don't.
But my concern is more, you've got to make sure you're in the right markets.
Yes,
right
owners.
So, but listen, I mean, it's something that the NBA has talked about and probably will do. They probably will do it. They will go to Seattle at least, and they might add another team there. So that's the way the NBA is going to make up what they lost. The NFL is about to sign a new round of TV deals where they will double the billions of dollars annually that they're already making.
They will be the only league in the world to see that kind of an increase on their TV rights worldwide.
Yes, to that magnitude, but the National Hockey League is also about to get its new U.S. TV deal, and it was reported on Sportsnet in Canada over the weekend. They're going to get a huge jump.
Wow.
Because ESPN is getting back into the NHL.
Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah. So now, again, I mean, we're talking about completely different magnitudes here. I mean, the NFL is on the $1 to $2 billion annual range. The NHL might be 10 to 20% of that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, we're talking about different orders of magnitude. But that's what the National Hockey League is doing to make back a lot of what they lost. Baseball, I'm not really sure. I know that the expenses in baseball went down substantially because they only played 60 games last year.
Yeah.
So for MLS, and look, I think all options are on the table. I'm not saying MLS is going to go to 32 teams and make it so. I'm not suggesting that at all.
They should explore it.
But I think it should be, yes, Jason, I think it should be explored. Because, again, if you can find 2 markets where this thing can work, even if you did not lose $1 billion this last year, you should be going into those markets. Mm-hmm. And I think they're out there. I really do. I still think it's Phoenix.
Yeah.
I think it could be Albuquerque.
Vegas.
I think it could be Detroit. Could be. The Detroit situation is one where you feel like maybe the Lions need to be involved just from a stadium standpoint.
Yeah, the group that the couple different things that were going on in Detroit have seemed to have fizzled. So there's going to need to be some work there. Vegas. I think Vegas is near the top of the list.
Yeah.
Great call. Great call on Vegas. Yes.
If you go Vegas and Phoenix, you're pretty comfortable.
Yeah, and if you look at the geographical map right now, there is a gaping hole in the desert Southwest for Major League Soccer.
Yep.
I would love to see Albuquerque get a shot because of how well they've done with USL. But I don't know what the market dynamics are in Albuquerque, if they can support a team that could draw 25,000 a game.
And I think they're also in the process of thinking about building a new stadium and getting out of the ballpark right now.
Yeah, you have to build a new stadium. I think in any of these markets we've talked about, aside from maybe Las Vegas, you'd have to build a new stadium.
I think it makes sense since Mark Davis also just picked up the WNBA franchise, that if he was to invest in MLS and put him in Allegiant, it gives you more dates your own building too.
Guys, wasn't there talk about the guy who owns the Golden Knights maybe getting involved in MLS?
I believe so. There were two different groups in Vegas that were talking about MLS. There was one that had an affiliation with the USL team, the Lights, that would have redeveloped Cashman Field where the Lights play, the former minor league baseball stadium, a big one. It'd be, compare it to like Portland and what they did taking a baseball stadium and turning it into a soccer stadium, which can be done. And then the other one, I think, was, I don't know if Davis was actually involved, and I don't know where the Knights, the Golden Knights guy factored in, which one he was with. But the other one would have them play where the Raiders play. So there were two different ideas in Vegas.
So, again, I mean, and look, we haven't even considered the Canadian markets, if Calgary might want to get in on this. Or
I don't know if the money's there. I feel like the money is in Vegas and Phoenix.
Well, yes, 100%. But again, if someone in Edmonton says, I've got $350 million, you're taking them. Edmonton did a great job with the Women's World Cup. They have a stadium that's been renovated. So, look, my point is this. There are many, many different avenues that Major League Soccer can pursue to getting back the revenue they lost. I think, Jason had mentioned Leagues Cup. I still think there's got to be a look at a preseason competition that you can get aligned with the Liga MX calendar or the MLS calendar, where maybe it's everyone plays everyone. And if it's at a neutral site, it's a neutral site, but you sell the television for that separately, you make some money off that. I mean, it's not going to be hundreds of millions of dollars, but it could be tens of millions of dollars plus sponsorship. Leagues Cup, I think, could be grown. I think there are probably a bunch of different competitions that you could look at. I would love to see maybe the pursuit of some kind of preseason competition between Major League Soccer and one of the leagues in Europe. It's hard to align with calendars.
You can't.
But
you'd have to do it in the summer. They wouldn't do anything. And outside, actually, I'll take that back. The one you could do something with would be the Bundesliga, because they take a longer winter break, and you could have them, a lot of those teams come to Florida and train anyway. Now, usually it's earlier than MLS was getting started. But the Bundesliga was coming over and participating in events with Brazilian teams and some South American teams that weren't playing yet in Florida. So you could exploit that. You could find a way to do that, get MLS teams involved and run it.
But one more thought on expansion. If you can find two markets and say, hey, you're in by 2025.
Yeah.
And by the way, we've got something coming up in 2026 that you might be interested in. Kind of would be hard to say no to that if you've got that kind of money to spend.
That's the fastest route.
Yeah. And I don't think it's a bad thing if you can find markets that are going to support the product.
And find the right owner that won't just go in to do it and then not just be there to invest long term.
Absolutely. Yep. You've done that with David Tepper.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You've obviously done it with Arthur Blank. I mean, that goes without saying. But now you've done it with David Tepper. Let's find some more David Teppers and Arthur Blanks, because they're out there. And you could make I may be conservative in saying that the expansion fee is $300 million. It might be more than that. Maybe it's $400 million. You put two in now, you've made $800 million back. So it's an option that I would think of, and I'm sure they've probably discussed it already at the league. I mean, I don't think I'm breaking any new ground today, but there are ways to do it. And that's why I'm very bullish on even the short-term future of Major League Soccer. I'm very, very bullish on it.
That's where MLS's positioning in this hemisphere can weather adding two more teams easily, because you're going to get even more now. And there's going to be some pushback out of South America on this, but you're seeing it with the rumors around Lautaro Giannetti. You've seen it with other players involved. You see it with River, with selling Santiago Sosa. They would have loved to have held on to Sosa and kept him and groomed him to be the next guy when Enzo Perez leaves. Well, he wants to get paid, and it's time for him to get paid. and he can go to MLS and get paid. Like, his salary can jump big. We've seen this happen, and if you had 2 more teams, and you can go find 25 to 30 more players out of South America, out of Central America, out of Mexico, to be a building block with the increasing level of American talent, which is jumping fast in terms of players being able to play at the high professional level. You can field 2 more teams. You could do it next year if you needed to. You're not going to. I'm just saying, like, talent-wise, you could solve that next year. And you're not going to see $500 to $800 million increase in TV rights, in new competitions, in nothing else. Expansion is your fastest route, and I would think the MLSPA would be on board with that too, because it's more jobs.
Oh, more jobs, and the more that league revenues grow, the more the players get, and the more that's in the broadcast contract the players get. And don't discount this as well, guys, that if you add the right markets, and Phoenix, I'm looking in your direction, you've added another top 15 TV market, which is going to enhance the value of your television package.
Yep.
And
that's why I keep saying Detroit. Like, I know Detroit's not the sexiest place in the world, but it is still a very large television market. And a lot of times, the National Hockey League going into Seattle was to a large degree because the NHL wanted to add a top 15 television market. So that's a big part of it too. I think it's a no-lose situation. The challenge is finding 2 groups that can front the money.
You can find them.
Not front the money, pay the money.
Yeah.
And then invest in their product after paying the expansion fee in order to do this the right way. Challenging to do, probably, especially in this business climate. But again, I mean, I think we can point to what's happened in Atlanta, what's happened in Los Angeles, what's happened in, Seattle, what's happened in Minnesota, as examples of, hey, you can do this and you can make money and you can make it pretty quickly.
Well,
Bill Foley on line 1 in Las Vegas.
Well, and one more thing, guys. Like, again, if it's Vegas and Phoenix, now, Minnesota, you don't have to be in the Western Conference anymore. Kansas City, you can be in the Eastern Conference with St. Louis. So you take care of some geographical issues as well.
There's people pushing back. Chara's pushing back in the Twitch pitch about expansion. Look, I think the thing you have to understand, and we got to let Mike go because he's got work to do. But
it's okay. I enjoy this. Keep me on. You're fine.
Okay. The thing that people have to understand is you can't go back to 2018, 2019 and pull out arguments against expansion and use them now.
Right.
It's a different conversation. And the NBA wasn't looking to expand.
No.
But they're going to, potentially, because they need the money to come in to make up for what they've lost. Everything's changed. And you're going to see leagues in Europe. You're seeing the Bundesliga talk about selling a share of their international TV rights, which are precious to them, because they need the cash. They need the cash up front.
Yeah, and who raised the concern in the Twitch?
Others have, but Chara said it too. Like, others will.
I would ask Chara this. Would you rather add 2 teams or contract 2 teams?
Yeah,
because that might. I don't think that's where we are right now. But
grow slower, I think, would maybe be the better way to put it. Like, have some owners say, I'd love to take advantage of this U22 initiative. I'd love to go and sign bigger designated players, but I just lost at my team. I just lost $80 million in the last 2 years. I can't afford it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's where I'm at with it.
You don't want that. You don't want. If people have worked too hard, and this league has come too far for it to get to that point. And let me be totally clear that, like, I would be very happy if MLS were at 24, 26 teams, and you had an incredible depth of talent in all 26 of those. I think that would be great, but that's not where we are economically anymore. I don't want to see clubs go away. I don't want to see owners get disinterested in this league and tap out because they can't make it work from a financial standpoint anymore.
Here's my thing on that one, real fast. Sorry. I don't think you're going to see teams go away if somebody wants to tap out. Let's Philadelphia, because I know we've talked about their ownership not being the richest in the league. There'll be somebody who'll buy it. I don't think that's the issue. And that doesn't fix the league either, because that money goes to the owners in Philly. It doesn't go to the league. The expansion goes across the league. I think the money's there. I think the people are there. Where I look at it is you have a unique opportunity right now with a World Cup coming in 26, with the far greater instability in other leagues in this hemisphere. You have the opportunity to put MLS at the front of the line in this hemisphere, and you have the opportunity to put MLS not in the 6 to 14 region of worldwide rankings, but pretty close to 6. Like, you have that on the table that you will never have as easily again.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I'll go back to it again. If you have the opportunity to add a market that will support it and spend on it to the level of Atlanta, why wouldn't you want to do that? That's going to make the entire league better. You know, I think we're seeing signs that Charlotte is going to be ambitious and try to do that. Great. We need more of that. So, I don't know. I want to be clear. In a perfect world, I don't want to have to expand, but I think there are arguments for doing it right now that could help ensure the long-term future of this league. That's all.
Yeah, there's a lot of debates to it. I totally get it. And I don't have the issues with expansion that others do, because I think the talent is there. And I don't really worry about, it's different than any other league in the world. It's a different country. It's a bigger country. The sporting setup is different. So, like, I don't pigeonhole it into what other leagues do. I think MLS can really rewrite the script in a pretty unique way. It's finding the right people to be involved in doing it. And that's what you're going to have to really put your time into if you go down this road. I think they're out there. There could be. But I think MLS has shown a good return on investment. Yeah. And even the ones who are maybe not able to invest as much in their teams are going to realize that at some point when they sell. Like, we're seeing teams sell for good amounts. We saw it before the pandemic. We've even seen a couple of shares bought here since that the numbers are pretty good. Like, people are getting their money back on those expansion fees pretty fast. Cincinnati did. Yep. So you can do it. It's just doing it the right way. And now the game's changed a little bit with these losses. You might look at being more aggressive quickly. I don't know.
Yeah. I agree. It's and like, even with RSL, which is up for sale right now for an unusual reason.
Yeah.
You know, the people that are reportedly engaged in, you know, potentially buying RSL are people that you want to have ownership in this MLS.
Tied to the Jazz.
You absolutely want that. You absolutely want people like that owning MLS clubs. So, and again, this is during a pandemic. when things are rough right now, and you're losing $1 billion a year, again, according to the league. I know that number has been disputed. So I'll go back to what I said. I'm very, very bullish for this league, on this league, excuse me, very bullish on this league. But you might have to do some things right now that you didn't plan to do before the pandemic started. And it's not maybe the most ideal situation in the world, but you can still turn it into a positive.
Well, we left a lot on the table on the Atlanta United front to save for stoppage time, which is good.
Down here.
At least, yes. Yeah. I hope I didn't get people riled up too much on the Twitch page.
No, because I'm probably more bullish on being more aggressive than you are right now. So they're used to it.
That's good. That makes me feel better.
No, I'm like, go for it. Right now you got a unique time where, you know, you've got
iron's hot, right? You know, strike while the iron's hot and take advantage.
Yeah.
Because you're in a better position than a lot of other leagues around the world.
You just pulled one of the best young strikers out of Brazil. That had never happened before. They always went to Italy or to Spain or to Europe first. Brenner's coming to Cincinnati, of all places. You've had a bunch of signings out of Argentina. You're going to see more of that talent come here early and earlier, like a Franco Ibarra, who his route previously, and we'll talk about him today on Stoppage Time for sure, his route previously would have been Argentinos, be a starter, get established, go to Boca, go to River, If not quite there, go to Racing, go to Independiente, then get sold to Europe. Well, he's saying, you know what? I can go to Atlanta instead of waiting to go to Boca or River, and I can still get to Europe when I want to get to Europe if I do the things that I got to do. Game's changed.
I'm with you. But yeah, we will refocus on the biggest news of the day, which is the start of training camp for Atlanta United at 2 o'clock today on Stoppage Time on the 92.9 The Game Facebook page. And I will look forward to getting all of your non-expansion related questions now.
We'll save the expansion stuff for next time.
Sounds good. All right, guys.
Thanks,
John,
Mike.
talk to you Friday. Jason, talk to you later today.
Be good.
Thanks, Mike. Make sure you're following him, Mike Conti, 929 on the Twitters. Some news to get into before our other question of the day. We've talked Champions League. We've talked Europa League. We've talked about all of that. She Believes Cup closes out today. The early game is Canada and Brazil, which should be a really good one just after 4 o'clock. USA plays Argentina this evening in Orlando. Probably going to see a rotated lineup. Argentina's the weakest team in the tournament. Tierna Davidson, Casey Kruger should get starts. Do we see Christy Mewis get a start? Do we see Sophia Smith get a start? The players we haven't seen yet, do we see them here? Because this might be one of their last opportunities to get into that mix for the Olympic squad. That is small. It's an 18-player squad, 16 field players. There's some talk about games in Europe in the April window for the women's side. The windows are a little different. They need it, and they're going to need to look at some of the players who couldn't come to this. You need to look at Alana Cook. Is she going to be a part of the back line for the Olympics? You're going to get a chance to see more of Caterina Macario, who won't be there today. She went back to France because that was already agreed upon. She's starting her quarantine, going back. They got Champions League coming up. It's an interesting game tonight. I don't think it'll be a very competitive game. Argentina's been better than I expected in this tournament, but still not great. They can't be. They've played 2 games in 15 months, and they don't have the same level of talent. But they've shown a lot of individual talent that if you're an NWSL team, you might want to be looking at. You might want to be scouting the Argentine side a little bit and bring in some players for very low prices. NWSL teams are getting closer and closer to getting their start. They'll have a Challenge Cup at the beginning in April before their season officially starts in May. Teams are already in camp. Houston Dash are going to play University of Texas in a friendly. You got intra-squad scrimmages, et cetera, et cetera. So the women's side is really ramping up. The dominant story at the national team level is going to be that Olympic roster for the U.S. and Olympic rosters for teams around the world, and how you get down to an 18-player roster. It's going to be very, very difficult. I want to see the players we haven't seen yet, because Vlatko needs to see them in at least a semi-competitive situation and what they could potentially give you that you don't already have. That's, I think, what he's looking for. He knows what his core is. He knows he's got an incredible spine with Dahlkemper, with Sauerbrunn, with Ertz. You know you've got a ton of talent in that midfield with Sam Mewis, with Lindsey Horan, with Rose Lavelle. You've got plenty of options up top. Who you're going to settle on is a big different question. The spine is great. You're looking maybe at outside back. You're looking at the depth, and you're looking for things you don't already have. So I agree with Bernd. Canada has also been impressive in this tournament. Had no idea what they were going to look like with a lot of their key figures not participating. They've been good. They gave the U.S. a really good game. Argentina made them work. So where are they? Are they at the level they showed against the U.S., or are they at the level they showed where they couldn't break down Argentina? Brazil is the in-between. Brazil has kind of been the same story. Brazil handled Argentina better than Canada did. That's a good, evenly paired matchup between Canada and Brazil today just after 4 o'clock.
Yep. Juice boxes. Canada's a plus 234. Your draw's a plus 221. Brazil is a plus 110. Time to play cliffhanger for the U.S. and Argentina. What do you think?
For which one?
Juice boxes. Boxes for USA and Argentina.
For which one? Which side of it? What
well,
number
let's
do you
go
want
with
me to guess?
U.S. to start.
Minus 500.
Minus 10,000 for the team for
Minus
USA.
10,000?
Yes.
Wow, that's disrespectful. I mean, that just feels mean.
Yep. And so your draw is a plus 2,000. So because of that number, what do you think Argentina is to win?
Plus 35,000?
Close, plus 3,450.
It's 34. Wait a minute. Is it 3,450?
Yes.
It's
for
not
Argentina.
Okay. So it's not close because I said 34,000 or 35,000.
You were a decimal point off. You were a number away.
That's not close.
It.
So
slide the decimal.
So
point
what
over.
is it for the U? Is it minus 1,000 or is it minus 10,000?
Minus 10,000.
Okay, you totally confused me, but now I understand. Got it. So I was nowhere close on the Argentina number, and I was nowhere close on the U.S. number. That goes about how my gambling has been lately with juice boxes. I'm throwing juice boxes around willy-nilly and losing them frequently. On the men's national team front, Norway has already announced that their first home World Cup qualifier isn't going to be at home. It's going to be in Malaga in Spain. They play at Gibraltar on March 24th. Then they will play Turkey, but not in Norway. It will be at Malaga. The Dutch are also in that group. This is the first European World Cup qualifier that has been moved due to travel and quarantine rules. Copa America is going to look a little different in South America. Qatar and Australia not participating. They have schedule conflicts. Australia is playing World Cup qualifiers in that window now that were delayed. Qatar is playing qualifiers for the Asian Cup, so they're not going to play. Now, Ariel Ramirez, the spokesman for CONMEBOL, has said that there are teams who have reached out to say they want to play. They've also said at CONMEBOL they'll just go with 10 teams like they normally do. I don't know. He said they'd like to have 12. They'll play it with 10 if they need to. You know, you've got a Gold Cup here, so I don't know if you're going to see the CONCACAF teams participate. I'm assuming not. Could you see European teams that are not part of the Euros? Maybe. Be interesting. Just go with an old school 10-team Copa America. Come on, South America. Don't get crazy. In Asia, only 4 World Cup qualifiers are actually going ahead in the March window. 8 teams are going to be involved in that out of 40. The rest has all been pushed back to June. They're going to run out of time. It's going to get really difficult to get the World Cup qualification process completed, even with a World Cup in the winter time of 2022. It's going to be really difficult. 2 big storylines on the transfer front this summer. Erling Haaland is going to be talked about pretty much every day. Mino Raiola is going to talk pretty much every day. He says that only a maximum of 10 clubs in the world can afford to buy Erling Haaland. 4 of those 10 are in the Premier League. So the other 6, I mean, who could actually afford to buy him? Real Madrid, PSG. Who else? I don't know who they are. I think he's overinflating his market. He says that he's everybody's looking. He's a potential new star. He's a new star. He's not even a potential new star. What he's doing at his age is absurd. He will be one of the future stars of the next decade because we see that stars such as Ibrahimovic, Ronaldo, Messi are coming to an age where everyone asks themselves, how long can we still enjoy them? 4 clubs in England, he says, can afford it. What? Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea,
Liverpool?
I guess they could. I don't think they would. I don't know.
I mean, I'm just saying.
No, I don't know who the other one is. I don't know. I don't know who he's thinking. Yeah. You know, I guess Liverpool would be the best one financially to do that, but you know, could Tottenham or Arsenal afford it? I think Arsenal could absolutely afford it.
Yeah, Stan Kroenke could afford it, yeah.
If he wanted to. So I don't know exactly where Mino Raiola is coming up with his numbers. I think he might just be throwing them up in the air and settling on a round number because I don't think there's 6 clubs in Europe that could afford him outside of England. And I think there might be more than 4 in England that could afford it that wouldn't do it. So another player's name has come up because I think what's going to happen here is you're going to see the Erling Haaland, the Kylian Mbappe chase, and everybody's going to talk about it. But you're going to see those guys who are out of contract and can go on a free. You're going to see the players just under that tier that movement will pick up on. Paulo Dybala is one of those guys. 27 years old, Juventus, future is uncertain. Liverpool, Manchester United, and Tottenham, according to Goal.com, are monitoring the situation. If any of them miss out on the big guys, do they come back for Paulo Dybala? Yeah, I could absolutely see that. Or a Tottenham or a Liverpool who doesn't want to spend on the big names. Although Liverpool has been linked to Mbappe at least a little bit. They haven't really been linked to Erling Haaland, but they have been linked to Mbappe. Haaland has been linked with Chelsea, and Chelsea reportedly is strutting around like Vince McMahon, thinking they're in a good position to get him. It's going to cost them. I think the number starts at 150 million euro.
Yeah.
If the release clause is 75 million the next summer, Dortmund is going to start at double.
Yeah.
Now, it might not get there. I think it might get more, depending on how many bidders there are. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot. But there's going to be other moves, too. And that's maybe the part that I'm most excited about is the teams who miss out. They decide to go after an Mbappe. They decide to go after a Haaland. They don't get them, and they say, we still need to get better. Now who do we go get? That's where things could get really wild.
Yep.
Back to Germany real quick. A couple things. Jamal Musiala is going to represent Germany instead of England or Nigeria. Turns 18 on Friday. Scored at Lazio in Rome. He's thought about it a lot, he says. He is going to represent Germany over England and Nigeria. Big loss.
And Derek Ray went into his family background on his Twitter account at Ray, R-A-E, COM, C-O-M-M, and he went into the background as under Musiala.
Excellent. Schalke is going to have their kit deal with Umbro curtailed at the end of next season. Was supposed to run one more year, $6.2 million per year. The head of marketing for Schalke explained it. He said both our and Umbro's expectations were not met. We didn't have the success we wanted in sporting terms, which was also reflected in the merchandising. The club is blaming Umbro a little bit, expected them to be more active in the retail space and position Schalke as a flagship brand. I'm not putting my flag on Schalke these days.
Nope.
If I have a flag to put somewhere, it's not being put on Schalke as a flagship brand. I'm sorry. Nope. They're getting relegated. Their sponsorship portfolio is headlined by Gazprom, front of the shirt. Veltins is the stadium sponsor. Those are both set to run until the end of 22 for the front of the shirt. You're not going to get the same money you got before on the front of the shirt. The stadium's through 27. You might be able to weather that one and ride it out. So Umbro has Wolfsburg, and that runs through the 24-25 season. I think that's all they have left in Germany after the Schalke deal ends at the end of next season. Torino in Italy looks like their game on Friday against Sassuolo is going to be postponed. Their next one against Lazio is likely going to get postponed as well. They have more positive cases, 4 more players adding to 3 previous ones. That's 7. Yeah, you're going to see some delays. Today, outside of Champions League and Europa League, you got Barcelona hosting Elche. This is a makeup game from earlier in the year. Barca needs wins. Big time. They need wins. Big time. Because
big favorite today.
They're playing Elche. I mean, let's be real. Elche's 18th. They defeated Eibar in the last round to end a 16-game winless streak. Yes, Barcelona is a big favorite. I can go with a gigantic duh on that. Doesn't mean they get it done. Remember Cadiz?
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. Also, since it's always fun to talk about Spain and things get a little interesting. Yeah, we got the drama in Spain, like we always do. Monchi has ruled out switching to Barcelona, despite rumors he would go to Barcelona. I don't know where those rumors started. They don't make any sense. Why would he leave Sevilla and go to Barcelona right now? He says, I am where I want to be, where I feel complete. My family are too, and that's the important thing. Sometimes that doesn't have a price. Well, that's good because Barcelona doesn't have any money, Monchi.
Yes.
So, they're not meeting whatever price you got. He says he is happy and content. You can see the pictures of him celebrating after beating Getafe. That is what's important. He ain't going to Barcelona? Come on now. Santi Cazorla, who it plays for Al Sadd. You guys will remember Santi Cazorla, legendary, great player, playing for Xavi. Well, he told RAC1 Radio, Xavi is fully prepared to coach Barca. He is aware of everything the club demands and has the necessary technical ability. He always tells us that the opponent will never be able to create any danger as long as we have the ball. That is Barcelona mentality. Xavi's got it in his blood. Xavi will manage Barcelona very soon. If he goes there as the technical director, which is what Victor Font has said, he'll be on the touchline very soon. He'll follow Ronald Koeman. Now, is that after this season? Is that after next season? I don't know that part. But he's the next manager at Barcelona. There's no way around it for me. We are going to leave Barcelona alone. Fourcard is very sad. We're going to move over to Real Madrid, who have a couple of things on the board. One, they spent a lot of money to try to get more likes and followers on Facebook to get ahead of Barcelona. That's in the Footy Leaks thing that is out there. That they threw a lot of cash out there on the influencer side to try to get more likes and follows in the Facebook realm. Don't think it went really well because that stuff's usually a scam. But they are also in advanced talks with Saudi Arabia's state-owned Qiddiya. I'm going with that pronunciation. Is that is that safe? Is that fair?
That's fair.
Qiddiya. 130 million pounds, 150 million euro project partnership deal that would include Qiddiya becoming the lead sponsor for the new women's team at Real Madrid. This could also include something with a partnership of a 5.7 billion pound project being built close to Riyadh. That's going to be Saudi Arabia's capital of sports and entertainment. And Real Madrid is linked to being a heavy partner with this.
Part of their 2030 initiative in Saudi Arabia and in Riyadh to make them a hub of activity, sports, entertainment, what have you. So the Qiddiya project would be part of that hub. And also there was a discussion before it went behind the pay window where apparently 4 players for Real Madrid's men's team would be attached to the sponsorship as well. Whether they would be wearing it on their kits specifically or not was not divulged.
Well, no, they wouldn't wear it on those 4 players' kits. They don't get to wear a different kit than everybody else. So no, that part's not happening. They would probably be in advertising, I would assume. Unless they're not going to be the front of the shirt sponsor for the men. But could they be a shirt sponsor for the men somewhere? Yeah, but not for 4 specific players. That wouldn't make any sense. It's, again, Real Madrid's looking for money. Hey, we're talking about spending about $1 billion to get Mbappe and Haaland together. Well, yeah, that's going to cost you. Where are you going to find that money? Saudi Arabia, I guess, is what Real Madrid's trying to do. One player to keep an eye on from the MLS front and from the South American front is Rafael Santos Borre at River Plate. Now, his deal at River is up in the summer. TIC is reporting that Minnesota, New York City, and Toronto are all interested in signing him in the summer on a free. This is really complicated, and I don't exactly get how this goes down. So, River Plate owns 50% of his pass. They must acquire 25% of the pass that is now owned by Atletico Madrid for 3.5 million euro to sign him to a new deal. So if his contract is up in the summer, couldn't they just sign him to a new deal then on their own? Or would there still be some kind of rights held by Atleti? Or is this contract not up? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It's very confusing, which is a lot of deals out of South America. Now, they also have to negotiate a new contract with him. And that part seems to be tricky. The 25%, the 3.5 million euro, well, Atlanta just gave him 6 on Santiago Sosa. They just got more than 8 on Nacho Fernandez from Atletico Mineiro. That part they're okay on. The contract seems to be the tricky thing. Now, Borre talked about how he loves River. No better place for him than River. Doesn't want to leave in a hurry. All is good. But River can't compete with the salaries that those MLS teams would offer or what a Brazilian club would offer. So maybe what River does, and this is what is being speculated on now, is they pay the 3.5. They do a new contract, but in the contract it is, we will sell you very soon. They would probably want to hold on to him for the 21 calendar year. You got Libertadores again. Gallardo's probably sticking around for the rest of that contract that runs through 21, and that's it. You want to win a domestic trophy because you haven't in a long time. My guess is they sign him to a new deal in the summer or whenever that starts in the summer, and then they sell him next January to MLS or to a Brazilian club. I think that is the balancing act, is they find a way to do that. Is what makes the most sense. But you're going to have more competition for guys like that. And I do not understand the whole thing with the 25% at Atleti and if he's on a free or not on a free in the summer or what. That part I don't get. But anyway, Borre could be linked with a move to MLS as early as the summer. I think it's probably more likely for next season. We've got some moving pictures of Gabriel Heinze walking onto a training pitch that everybody's freaking out about. Stop the presses. Moving. We're an audio show, so I mean, he's walking. He looks like he's walking normally.
Gabriel Heinze is walking with purpose.
Everything is good. You're adding the purpose part. He might not be walking with purpose. He might just be walking. We don't know.
Chilling.
We don't know.
Oh, found some more info real quick on the Real Madrid deal.
Thank you.
Reportedly, Real would reportedly dedicate a minimum of 4 players from the men's first team to endorse Cadilla, which would also be promoted on the team's website, social media channels. Agreement would see Cadilla become the lead sponsor of the women's team, added that the club's female players would travel to Saudi Arabia to inspire young girls to participate in sports, and that's in quotation marks. Another document, reportedly a memorandum of understanding, would evaluate the possibility of developing a Real Madrid entertainment center in Cadilla, including a museum and merchandise store.
A lot of cash. Big money. That's what they're looking for. Mm-hmm. Big money, and sounds like they'll do whatever it takes to get that big money. All right, something I mentioned at the beginning of the show, guilty pleasures. There was a goal scored for Leeds yesterday. I was angry watching this game because of what happened with that goal. The Patrick Bamford goal, first off, Patrick Bamford, show that man some respect.
Yes.
13 goals. Everybody said he's not good, he's at this or that, or he didn't make it here, he didn't make it there. Marcelo Bielsa is the striker whisperer then, because Patrick Bamford's got 13 goals. I think he's third in the Premier League, correct?
Yeah.
In goals. Show that man some respect. He should be part of the European Championship squad this summer.
I'm on my fantasy team, and I've had him as one of my best salary cap moves all season long.
No offense, John. I'd like to see Gareth Southgate have him on his real team more than you having him on your fantasy team. That's a little bigger for Patrick Bamford. I don't think he really cares about your fantasy team.
We'll ask Poppy Miller about that.
He does not care. Patrick Bamford could care less about your fantasy team. He would like to represent England, and I think he's played his way into that. No, what I was angry about was Stuart Dallas's goal, which I was losing my mind about how awesome it was on multiple levels. First, just the way the whole thing built up. But Stuart Dallas went full tres dedos. No, he didn't have a toe flick. Oh, he toed it in is what was said on the commentary. He toed it in. Let's diminish that goal. That man scored that goal fully intentionally with exactly what he meant to do, and he should have strutted off like Vince McMahon after scoring it because it was that good.
Mm-hmm.
I love those kinds of goals. That is one of my guilty pleasures in the game, is the tres dedos, the 3 fingers. It's the flick with a little bit of the outside of the foot. Yes, in the toe region, you get a little bit of that, outside, inside-outside spin on it. Just a little. You're not trying to, hit a Roberto Carlos free kick, which Stuart Dallas has kind of looked like. You just want that flick because goalkeepers don't expect it. Everybody gets thrown off by it, and it is 100% intentional, and it is awesome. I was so mad they tried to diminish that like it was nothing. He should have moonwalked from the end line to back to his position. That was beautiful. Beautiful
hell
goal.
of a shot.
Beautiful goal. It was absolutely intentional. Hell of a shot. The swagger it takes to score that goal. Those goals get crapped on too many times. I loved any time I had an opportunity in my 7v7 play or playing in intramurals or playing in local amateur leagues to score a goal like that. Oh, yeah, I wanted to moonwalk all over the field too, because you're doing it intentionally. Go back and look at the 94 World Cup. Romario had those goals. I love it. I love those goals. If anybody can post a link to the Dallas goal on the Twitch pitch, that would be awesome. Sharif is requesting. Try to get the whole thing too, by the way. I loved it. So that's one of my guilty pleasures in the game. Like, look, it's easy to go nuts about Erling Haaland's goal, or flying side volley. It's easy to go nuts about the goal from Copa Libertadores last night, a free kick that curls in off the underside of the crossbar. Those are easy. We all love those. I'm not diminishing them. Those are great. The rush from something like that is great. My guilty pleasure is something like that some people say, like, oh, it's not that good. Oh, it's a toe flick. Oh, it's crap. It's not good technique, or blah, 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 whatever. No. I love those kinds of goals because of the amount of swagger it takes. I love a nutmeg is an easy one that people get excited about. I don't even know what it's called. I'm sure there is an awesome Spanish phrase for it that I've not learned yet. I love the move where you play it to one side of the guy defending you, and you run around the other side and get on the end of it, and the guy's standing there like, oh? I love that move. That's one of my guilty pleasures. What are your moments in games that are guilty pleasures? Is it a certain kind of goal? Is it a certain kind of pass? Is it a certain kind of dribble? Is it something that just happens in the game? What are your guilty pleasures in that? We talk about guilty pleasures with music all the time. Like the song that you're singing at the top of your lungs in the car that you're hoping the person next to you doesn't hear through your window, or that you remembered that your window is not down and you're able to just belt out whatever cheesy song that you think people would look at you funny. I'm looking for that in the soccer world, in soccer matches. What are your guilty pleasures that you love to see more than anything else?
Okay. We're getting a couple. Wagner GTAU, nutmegging the keeper.
Yeah, I can read that too. Yes, nutmegging the keeper is good. Okay, you did add the goal. Thank you. That was awesome.
Yep.
Tweet them at us too at Soccer Down Here. Let us know. Also, what are your guilty musical pleasures? Because we talk music on this show a lot. We cross streams with that. Everybody's got them. Don't be that person. Don't be that person like Sam Mewis was. And this was something I learned in my prep for trivia last night. So back years ago, I think when Sam was first breaking into the national team picture and Christy Mewis was in the national team picture, they did a joint interview and somebody asked him about music. Everybody got bent out of shape about Alex Morgan talking about loving Taylor Swift music, and that was stupid. Like,
yes.
It was fun. We got to know her a little better. That's great. But back years ago, in an interview, Sam Mewis acted like she didn't like Taylor Swift's music because she was trying to be cool. Now she's come to embrace the guilty pleasure of liking Taylor Swift music. Okay, cool. She said, hey, I was wrong. That was stupid. I like Taylor Swift. Who is your artist like that? What is your song like that you maybe in the past, maybe pre-COVID, were like, I don't like that. But you have all the stuff downloaded on your Spotify. You listen to it all the time in the car when nobody's around. Who is that for you that you rock out to that was previously not cool to admit? We can admit these things now. Embrace stuff that you like. Don't be afraid of it. Don't point fingers at people and say, ha, because you got something that you like that people would do that to you. Embrace it.
Okay. All right. I'll give you mine. And there's actually two of them.
It's not hard. It shouldn't be difficult, John.
No, it's not. But, I mean, it's the same genre of music. It's basically ABBA and the Bee Gees.
That's not even... I don't even think that's hard to admit. It's great pop music.
Some of the best harmonies that you will ever come across when it comes to groups are from those two.
Yeah, it's
and how they carried themselves in the 70s. So yeah, ABBA and the Bee Gees for me, the disco craze.
Man, I wouldn't even put that as guilty pleasure, but I'm musically schizophrenic. I listen to everything. Part of that is just because of I like a lot of different kinds of music. Part of it is I worked for a long time in music stores where I had to listen to everything because I wanted to be well-rounded. Part of it's just the experiences I've had. I mean, I've DJ'd hip-hop and worked in clubs where I was the only white guy in the club. And I have grown up on alternative music and 99X and all of that too. So I'm probably one of the few who, saw REM at the Omni and saw Outkast as well in concert in 1998. That's cool. I love that stuff. So like for me, like I don't really think of it in terms of genre because I listen to everything. I'll tell you what mine lately has been that I would not have necessarily expected, although I've always liked her as an artist. Kelly Clarkson. So okay. Kelly Clarkson once just an unbelievable singer. And I mean, I don't get too deep into the American Idol or voice shows, but I do like when they find just a talented singer. And she was the first one. She made the whole thing work because she was that good. She has a talk show now, which I was kind of like, okay, like I saw it coming and I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. That's a weird pivot and weird move, but sure. And what she does on the show, and this is what got me hooked, is she does I think they call it karaoke. Okay. She does a cover song on the show, and she usually like cuts it down to like 2 minutes or something. But some of them are incredible. Like some of them are okay. Some of them are all right, but some of them are just like, I didn't expect her to sing that, and that's a cool arrangement, and wow, that's pretty cool. That's been my guilty pleasure lately. I have guilty pleasures with music probably every week, a new one. But that's been my one lately that I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. She did, Hard to Say I'm Sorry by Chicago, which I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. Okay. I went down a Chicago rabbit hole after hearing that.
With or without Peter Cetera?
Well, she did the song that was just the song. It's a song.
No, but what I'm saying is when you went down the Chicago rabbit hole, were you listening?
Both. I mean, I went down his rabbit hole too because like I said, I go down music rabbit holes on a daily basis probably.
I mean, I like Peter Cetera's One Good Woman when he went solo and went away from Chicago.
Yeah,
a lot of folks thought that was amazingly cheesy in the 80s.
Well, no, it was amazingly cheesy, but you can still love it. That's the thing. Like, I love cheesy stuff. But it's cheesy. I'm not going to tell you it's not cheesy, John. But it's good. That's fine. Cheesy is not bad. I don't equate them as bad. I try not to do that anymore. But no, the Kelly Clarkson little cover segments from her show that are all over YouTube, I've gone down that rabbit hole a few times. She did a really cool one with the New Radicals. You Get What You Give, which I will put my hand up and I'm going to confess to the congregation that I despised that song when it came out.
Really?
Yeah, it was horribly overplayed. And
okay, well, I'll stipulate
I'm not done.
I like
I'm
the
not
song,
done.
But it was horribly overplayed.
I'm not done. I hated the attitude about the end of it. The end of it overshadowed everything about the song for me. The end of it completely wrecked the song for me because of him talking about wanting to fight Courtney Love and Marilyn Manson and Hanson. I thought that was so stupid and out of place. Hated it. So I hated the song. Talked trash about it for years and years and years. The story about the song with Beau Biden and Joe Biden, and it was Kamala Harris's husband's walk-on music at the events they did, like that kind of stuff. I went back and listened to the song again. I'm like, wow, this is a really great song. First off, it's a really well-written song. That last part's stupid, but it's a really well-written song. It's got a powerful message to it. Before I heard that, I saw Kelly Clarkson do the karaoke on it and was like, wow, okay, that's really cool. It's a different arrangement. It works. It's really good. And now I've come around on that song, and I've actually come around on that group, their one album that came out. So The New Radicals are okay, even though they broke up before their second single. I was wrong. I was being too cool for school on that one and saying that, oh, no, it's not good. I'm trying not to do that anymore. That's where I'm at with music. So Nick Alifi brings Tenacious D's tribute to the table on this. Rope says Peter Cetera is amazing, brings up the Glory of Love song from the Karate Kid soundtracks. Nick Alifi says Iron Maiden's Hallowed Be Thy Name in Traffic will get you some looks. Absolutely. Alex Basine, Britney Spears, Toxic. I'm not afraid to speak my truth anymore. That's what I'm looking for, Alex. It's a great song.
Yeah.
It's a great, great song. Pink for DM Tim. Another one that you can go down the rabbit hole on really good live performances. Great singer. To cross guilty pleasures here, there's a cover from some award show of Pink and Kelly Clarkson singing Everybody Hurts by R.E.M. Really good performance. Really good. I love covers. Like, I love listening to cover versions of songs. That's a guilty pleasure. Soccer guilty pleasures from the Twitch pitch. J-Dub says, players tripping on air, the turf monster. That's a fun one. It's kind of a mean guilty pleasure, J-Dub, but, that's always entertaining. I like a good foul. I like the Mejores Patatas Twitter account. I like some of those crazy, ridiculous fouls that you see that you're like, what was he thinking? Did he really want to end that man or that woman? That's really harsh. J-Dub's music guilty pleasure is any Dua Lipa song, specifically Pretty Please. She's somebody I haven't really gotten too deep into yet. I've heard the song, the popular stuff. I check out pop radio and I want to know what's going on. Again, it's my throwback to my music store days that are long ago, but it's just I like to check out new stuff. So I'm aware of her. I couldn't say like I'm a fan. My pop artist that is my guilty pleasure right now is Halsey. Halsey's awesome. Halsey's early stuff is awesome. Halsey's later stuff is awesome. Halsey's really good. So yes, that is my current guilty pleasure in the pop world.
Let's see. Day Day loves when a defender uses physicality to shield a ball rolling out across the end line. And the
That's
guilty
a good
music
one. Where you don't even touch the ball. You time it just right to where you get a good hit on the attacker, but you don't commit a foul. They don't get the ball. You get a free lick. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
And then guilty music pleasure for Day Day is Bad Baby. She only makes bops.
Okay. I have to check that one out. This is also an opportunity for me to add new stuff to my music list. Very nice. Alex Facine is on record loving the New Radicals. I am now. I was wrong. I was horribly unfair, and I apologize to Greg Alexander and the New Radicals for not giving them enough credit when they came out. Their second single that they broke up before it came out was actually really, really good. So I was wrong.
Joe Boss, guilty pleasure musically is bluegrass, but more of the older stuff.
It's not something I've ever been like deep into, and I guess my connection to any kind of bluegrass has been more recent, and then going back into the cover world, like bluegrass covers of things are really interesting to me. There's been some bluegrass covers of like AC/DC that are really weird. So yeah, mine would be there. I don't go too deep back into the older stuff, so I just don't even know where to start with that, Joe.
And that catches us up on that topic on Twitter. We got a bunch of other stuff here for Wall Pass Wednesday.
Okay, we'll finish with that. Pacine also reminds us, and this is something I learned recently, Greg Alexander from the New Radicals wrote Game of Love with Santana and Michelle Branch. He's done a bunch of songwriting and has done a bunch of stuff behind the scenes, which is probably where he was more comfortable. I don't think he enjoyed being the front man for a band that was getting a bunch of attention. I just don't think it's his personality. I think he enjoyed music and loves music and is still involved in music today on a regular basis, but being the front man was awkward for him. So I can get that, and that probably led to some of the silliness that he had when they were getting big, 'cause I think he struggled with it, and that's understandable completely. Other stuff from the Twitch pitch, Chicago 16 is one of their best albums, according to Abby. They did just numbered their albums, right? They just put out albums and just called it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and just numbered it.
Yeah.
That's kind of cheesy. I'm not a fan of that. Sorry, Chicago. Put a title on it. Make it easier for us. Because I don't know when 16 was, and I don't know what's on it. That gives me nothing. I think it was later, I'm guessing, because they did 15 albums before it, but I don't know when that one came out. JP Vita says the one album from the New Radicals was pretty good. I need to check out the whole thing again now. Wrecking Ball is probably mine, Jason Nix says. That's awesome. Jason Nix belting out Wrecking Ball is pretty awesome. Miley's not bad. Let's see. I did not know that Pink sings Ellen's show theme. Thank you, Abby.
Did not know that either.
Didn't know that. There's a lot of talk as well in the Twitch pitch about the jerseys and customization and pricing and all of that. I do not have any details on it, and people are figuring it out and sorting it out, so I'm going to let you guys work through that. If you're on our Discord as well, I'm sure the conversation will continue there. J-Dub backs me on Halsey. Pacine's seen Halsey live, and she's great. I would like to see Halsey live. Absolutely would. She opened for Imagine Dragons. Pacine says, look, I'm married. You have to do things. No, we can embrace it. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. You enjoyed it. Don't lie. You enjoyed it. JP Vita says, bluegrass should never be a guilty pleasure, just a pleasure. I need to listen to the GOAT rodeo sessions, Alex tells me. GTR4X says, on the soccer side, a striker dribbling a keeper is a guilty pleasure. I think a striker nutmegging a keeper has come up as well. Both are excellent. I'm trying to think if I'll take it a step further than that. Well, combining a couple of things, that dummy move where you let the ball run to one side and run around the other. The 1970 World Cup, Pelé had the almost greatest goal that didn't happen. I might say it is the greatest almost goal, where he did that move to a goalkeeper who was charging out. Goalkeeper comes out. Pelé lets it run to the right side, to his right. Pelé runs around the left. It ran too far away on the angle. He wasn't able to convert the shot. If he had converted that, that would have been right there with Maradona's goal in '86. It's the greatest not goal. I love that stuff. Chicago 16 was June '82. Thank you, Abby.
David Foster produced that one.
Very nice. Yeah, a lot of love for bluegrass, which I did not expect to see coming on the Twitch pitch today. Very cool. Another one from GTR that I had not heard of. Tommy Prophet's soundtrack-like covers. Adding that to my list. Write that down on the legal pad, John.
Writing it down.
J-Dub, I have heard this. Miley Cyrus's cover of Jolene. That is a great, great cover. Absolutely.
Yes.
Will says, Tommy Shaw did a version of Blue Collar Man that sounds orchestral along the lines of switching genres for a song. That's fascinating. Okay, I'm intrigued by this as well. Kefsey, good stuff. Shouting out the Soccer Down Here page at Teespring. If you're looking for gear, it's not quite the Atlanta United new gear, but it's pretty cool. Kefsey got the red hoodie, which is awesome.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody who has supported the show that way. We will probably tomorrow have a announcement about our 2021 scarf, and the pre-sale will be getting underway. I cannot wait. I'm very happy about the work that our friends at Die Hard put together on this one. Almost ready. It's coming. DM Tim's honest enough to wear the Soccer Down Here shirt outside. Excellent day. Guilty pleasure for Mr. Fantastic, and I am not well-versed on the DC Go-Go scene, but I do know it a little bit. Chuck Brown is the guilty pleasure for Mr. Fantastic. Dig it. DC Go-Go is fun. I like those little subgenres that pop up sometimes. I guess one of my guilty pleasures lately has been, as I'm trying to learn more Spanish and get better at it, is listening to rock bands from Argentina. So I'm trying to dig into that stuff, and there's a couple that I'm like, wow, this is just really good rock music. It's just in a different language. It sounds like it could fit right into American rock music. It's just in Spanish. So that stuff's cool. I love exploring stuff with music, so that's why this is a fun conversation for me. Pink Martini from Nick Alifi Incredible. I agree. Pink martini is very, very cool. I remember when it wasn't their first album, I don't think, but when they kind of broke a little bit, it was when I was in one of the music stores running it, and people started coming in and asking for it, and nobody really knew what it was. And we sold a ton of it because we figured out what it was first, and we were able to sell it to people. So it was very cool. What do we have on the Twitters for a Wall Pass Wednesday and anything else?
Okay.
Or something
word
else
has come out that Laurent Simon is going to be joining the staff of CF Montreal as an assistant coach.
Makes total sense.
Simon Evans says that UEFA's Euro 2020 COVID medical advisor, Dr. Daniel Cooks, tells Reuters, quote, "There is no way the Euros will not happen. They will happen." Cook says they could be more than 30% fan presence in the ground. It remains possible. Supporters could yet be allowed to travel internationally. Story to follow. So SG Evans on Twitter. He's the Reuters sports news correspondent. So keep an eye on that as well.
Yeah, they're going to have it. There's no question. I mean, what it looks like with fans, nobody knows. But they're not canceling the Euros. They need the money. TV needs the content.
All right. On the Twitter, Sean Miller. Hi, fellas. Thanks for your concern for us Palace fans, but we're all right. Smash and grab, last-minute win versus your biggest rivals and media darlings. Lovely. Consistent staying in the league has enabled us to upgrade everything behind the scenes, including upgrading our now Cat 1 Academy, having beaten every one of the big six. Think our record versus them surpasses Arsenal's. We have a local owner, a local manager, a local star player, plus the best fans in the league is often rated by our rivals. You can happily color me beige.
I love that we tweaked the Crystal Palace fans. That's incredible. I didn't know they existed really in large numbers, so that's very cool. All that's good, and that's good to hear because if you're gonna be beige, I think it's got to lead to something. Because I don't know if you always want to be beige. Maybe you do, but if you're putting in the work there and you're building that academy, you shouldn't be bland forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think. If you're doing it right. So if it's a beige period to get to the explosion of color coming, like the wonderful kits that Crystal Palace has, then, all right. Sometimes you got to be beige. That's okay. I just don't always want to be beige.
Griffin Westbrook has posted a poll, which I just retweeted. He says, with Atlanta United training camp around the corner, behind Joseph Martinez, of course, who has the best hair on the roster, and who are y'all expecting to have a dominant hair performance during training camp? His four choices.
That's a big question.
Santiago Sosa,
pretty good.
Marcelino Moreno, Brad Gazan, or Miles Robinson.
I mean, Brad would be the anti-choice, right?
Of those four, I'd go Moreno.
People seem to have real strong opinions on Barco's dye job.
Or Heinze's hair, even.
Gabby's got some wonderful hair. I appreciate Barco's willingness to play with what color his hair is. I did that back in the day when I had hair. It's gone a long time ago. Maybe part of the reason I don't have it now. I think it was already going to happen anyway. I think that was predestined. I don't think I did any extra damage. I just had fun while I had it. So I appreciate Barco's hair dyeing. I like it. Sosa's getting a lot of love in the Twitch pitch. Strong hair game. That cat looks different in every photo, according to Kefsey. Sosa's a strong contender. I'm partial to the frequent change of color from Barco. Outside of that, that's probably it. That's probably the guys. Gabby might beat them all.
Yeah. So I would go with...
JP says my wife likes Sosa's hair a little too much.
Okay, well, all right.
Uh-oh! Is he the new Tito? Is that what we're hearing?
It might be.
Sosa the new Tito?
Might be. Turner Kirby. With Rush Probst under investigation once again, who would you consider the Rush Probst of soccer? Meaning, who's a guy who controversy and scandal follows him wherever he goes?
That's the coppers coming in to get Rush.
But he wins and thus keeps getting hired.
Who's the soccer equivalent of Rush?
Joey Barton?
I don't think he's actually cheating anywhere. That's kind of harsh, John.
Well, no, I was just talking about
But no,
the more emotional element.
But no, that's not it. I mean, sure.
Controversy and scandal.
Yeah, Rush yells a lot on the sideline. Yippee. Woohoo! He's different than any other coach that way in high school football.
No.
It's the rampant cheating in terms of his job and the alleged, although I don't think it's alleged, I think it was actually proven, rampant cheating in his personal life.
That, yes. In Alabama, yes.
There's a lot of rampant cheating. So this is not just being loud and boisterous. Who would be the rampant cheater in the soccer world that keeps getting jobs because he's a very good coach along with being a rampant cheater? Miguel Herrera's name has come up. I don't think he cheated. I think he just punched a journalist and lost the Mexico job. I think that's the worst of his things. Well, I think it's that guy. Man, hold on. I don't think he's still there anymore because he lost the job. But I think it was the Bolivian national team coach who, I think he is still there actually, who was accused of forcing players to go play for his brother's agency or he wouldn't call them up for the national team.
Oh, I vaguely remember this.
Yeah, it's him. He's the Rush Probst. It's Cesar Farias.
Okay.
He's the Rush Probst because he's like, yeah, you want to play for the national team here? I mean, we're not very good anyway, so what does it matter if I don't call you up? It's not like we're going to qualify. Go sign for my brother's agency. Oh, you don't want to do that? Okay, you won't get a call up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the guy. I think it's Cesar Farias in Bolivia.
Okay. Nathan Pugh with a couple of points. He says it's a 10 on the Mellish meter today, so there isn't any pressure on us and our performance today.
We tried.
He also says that Big Sam brushes his teeth with brown gravy.
He might use different color gravy for that. I think the brown gravy might stain.
Yeah. And Ropes posted a very cool video from Copa 90. Yesterday, Fortaleza, CEIF, took the pitch. They're the leaders in Colombia's second division. They all came out for their processional wearing capes and sunglasses.
That's pretty cool. It's absurd. That's pretty cool. What MLS team would be most likely to come out in walkout props?
LAFC?
Yeah, I could see that. Who's really goofy on the social medias that would go down that road? LAFC's a good shout. I don't know if I can come up with a better one.
Because, Will Ferrell would embrace it. He'd be down there on the touchline before the match and all of the Hollywood element, too.
He would. That's a good call. That's probably the best call. I think you nailed this one. We have a question from John Nason, who didn't get to listen, asking for your juice boxes on his beloved Coventry City, who is traveling to Wales to play your beloved Swansea City today.
Check. Yes. Juice boxes. Swansea's a plus 117. The draw is a plus 209, and Coventry City is a plus 281. It should be a match that Swansea City takes care of.
Should be. They should. They've been dropping some games they shouldn't be dropping. So we'll see.
True. Yeah. Got blown out by Huddersfield the other day, 4-1. So we'll see what the rebound is here. 6 matches in the championship today. 3 of them are at 2 o'clock. 3 of them are at 2:45.
Nick might have beat your LAFC shout with Philadelphia doing that.
Okay.
I mean, if Philly came out in some kind of Captain America ripoff of their fake supporter shield prop with the Captain America shield, that would be awesome.
Or if they came out looking like Ben Franklin and everybody from 1776 for the July 4th game.
That would be weird, but sure. I mean, you can only do so much with the props because, you're literally about to play a game. So, a cape and sunglasses are pretty easy to dispose of. Powdered wigs and knickers might not be as easy to dispose of before the game, John.
Well, you get the long coats and you get
You'd have to do the long coat. Yeah, that's a good call. You could do that. You could do a fake wig on top, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
Throw that. That's a lot of stuff.
I know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Go to commercial break after the processional so that way everybody can take all their outfits off.
No, you can't add a commercial break. No, it's TV. You're not adding extra stuff. You don't have that time. You gotta go. You gotta go.
Tofka's storylines, he says, number 1, Joseph's return, back and menacing from the start, or slow and steady.
Okay.
2, Heinze's Bielsa alchemy, how good and how fast can he get it functioning? 3, Barco's last full chance to tempt Europe. 4, Bello made the academy to starter transition. Who do we see to try to do the same? 5, what to hope for and expect from new faces and older faces that have yet to stake their claim for time, meaning Heinemann and Husechu in his parenthetical thought. And he says, for all the negatives of 2020, Joseph has been given a ton of time for recovery without the internal pressure of being pressed to return. The timing of an injury like that could not have been better.
All good points. Share your 5 storylines with us. Tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. 5 storylines for Season 5 of Atlanta United. If you're a fan of a different team, your team's 5 storylines as you guys get closer to starting preseason. What are they? And MLS is going to have a lot of storylines league-wide. Lots of storylines this season. So we'll start to nail them down team by team as things get underway. The Colonel says Swansea can't have dropped too many matches they shouldn't be dropping since they've lost 5 league matches in the season and 1 in 2021. Just saying, he's checking me on that. The one is the one that I'm remembering. The loss that they just had that kind of shocked me. Well, then what's been going on? Has it been draws? Because I thought they lost position in the championship. I thought they were in second in a good spot, and now they've slid a little bit. So is it draws instead of losses? Maybe I should have been more specific.
Well, it's just the timing of people getting hot too. I mean, Swansea also still has 2 matches in hand.
That's even better. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, so I mean, right now 2, 3, and 4 are separated by 1 point. Swansea is in 4th right now, but they have 2 matches in hand. So there's room to get back into the automatic promotion spot with the matches that are there.
That makes more sense. Okay, thank you, Colonel, and everybody else for checking me on that. The match with Sheffield Wednesday got postponed. That's one. They did have a draw with Brentford, but that's probably not a massive drop there. That's a tough match. And that was going a little bit further back. That was January 27th. So, yeah, it's the canceled matches. That's where it threw me because I'm like, they've dropped position. What's going on?
Yeah, it's just that, other folks have sped past them with 2 more matches. Swansea's only played 29. Everybody else has played 31. All right, so Antonio, with your stuff with Champions League today, says, don't you put the stank on Lil Ol City with your pick.
I already did. They're broken. They're going to lose. Streak
Emilio
over.
Corsi. Regarding fan capacities for the upcoming season, and given that science is constantly evolving, is there any thought about keeping the roof open full-time, even if it may be uncomfortable for spectators?
I've wondered that. I think one thing that helps with Mercedes-Benz Stadium is the sheer size of it and the sheer height of it. It's not like a basketball arena, to compare. So you've got more room to work with for air, and I think the circulation of it was a huge factor in the way it was built. And I know that was something that was pointed to early on during the pandemic when questions came up about opening the roof. I'd have no problem either way. If it's hotter in there, it's hotter in there because it's safer, and if you can have more fans because you have the roof open, that's a trade-off that I think would be fine. I don't know the mechanics of it. I don't know what goes into that decision. But yeah, if that's what it comes down to, you can have more fans if you open the roof. Open the roof.
Tofka says, let's be honest, 32, maybe even 34 teams are coming in MLS. If it's 2 years or 5 years or 8, it's coming. With MLS churning out more talent than ever and MLS making itself well-known in the international market, there's not going to be a dilution of talent.
No, I'm not worried about the talent issue. I'm not. There's so many more players being developed in this country. There's so much more business being done in South America. Talent's not going to be a problem. You'll have plenty of talent. You can add more teams. I don't know about how much further past 32, but if you added 2 more teams as a way to help recoup what you've lost, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a ton of sense.
Also on the board, David King, after, since it's a Wall Pass Wednesday, with the thespian skills of a particular individual in the Atlanta United front office and how it was presented. He says, Such a weak announcement, what without monocle, nor top hat, nor cryptic references, nor random British persons with the same name. Imagine such an existence with an uncreative front office, as he was referencing Brazilian midfielder Gregoire being signed by Inter Miami CF by comparison.
So just they didn't do anything with it. They just announced it.
They just announced it and put up a full screen with a picture.
What's wrong with that? Like, I mean, that's fine. Like, it's okay. Like that. I think, maybe I don't want to steal Frank de Boer's line, but maybe we're a little spoiled on this. Like, just announcing a player is standard operating procedure, so it's okay. Like, that's not bad. Just we have it really good. I don't want to throw shade. I want to embrace what we have that's good. Embrace the good.
Yes.
Don't worry about the meh. It's meh. It's okay. It could always be meh. Embrace the good. When we have good, let's celebrate that. Not look at something else and say, why aren't you good?
Yeah. Matt Wagner. Curious about your thoughts of the team's depth at center back, given that Miles could be quite busy this year with national and Olympic team duties. Giannetti is a win, and Sosa could slide in, but will the youth players be up for the task?
I think Campbell's ready, and he'll be ready with this time. And Anton Walks is still there, too. I think we keep forgetting about Anton Walks in this mix. Morales, I'm not factoring into that. So I think Morales needs time to play games. He needs to play at the second division level. He needs to play with Atlanta United, too. So could you go find another veteran possibly if you need to? I'd rather not. I'd rather give those minutes to Campbell. And that goes along with the way that Gabriel Heinze has typically run teams. He likes to give those depth roles to kids and develop them. Because otherwise, how do you? Miles Robinson gets called away to national team, and you have an open spot next to Giannetti. You'd rather give that to Campbell than a 28-year-old player who is not going to turn into a starter, magically tomorrow. You'd rather give that time to Campbell or even Morales if you need to. So, no, I think the depth is fine. If you have Robinson, you have Giannetti. And I think some of this is the confusion that Atlanta United is going to play three center backs all the time. I'm sorry. Go read Gabriel Heinze's comments about the way he wants his teams to play. Go look at what he did at Vélez. He rarely played three center backs to start games. And a lot of times when he did, it was just Gaston Jimenez dropping into the back line from the midfield. So it wasn't even a third center back. It was a midfielder dropping. I don't know why that is a thing. There's nothing to base it on. Now, could he, when looking at teams in the league, play three center backs this season? Absolutely, and he will. But regularly, he has based out of a 4-3-3. And if you want to go a step further, you can call it a 4-1-4-1 or a 4-1-2-3. It's one holding midfielder, two more attacking. But everybody's got to be able to do different things. Multifunctional. Multifunctional, multifunctional, multifunctional. I'm going to hit the quota for the day.
Yeah.
It's massive. So you don't need an extra center back that would take time away from George Campbell or potentially Efrain Morales. You've got Giannetti, we think. You've got Robinson. You've got Walks. That's three good. You've got Campbell as number 4. Okay? You've got Morales as number 5 if you got to go down that low. And yes, Sosa can drop in and play, even in a 4-man back line if you need it to. But if they go 3 center backs, more often than not, it would just be Sosa playing as a center back from the start and then stepping into the midfield when he can. So how different is it really? Don't get hung up on formation. Don't shoehorn things in because you think this is what something should happen. Look at the history. Look at what Vélez did. Look at what Heinze has said about the way he wants his team to be positioned and shaped. That should guide you here and what you're looking for. Sosa's critical because he can drop into the back line comfortably. Ibarra hasn't done that at Argentinos. They didn't play the same way. But he's got the characteristics of somebody who could do that. But he's also somebody very easily is if you do start in a 3-4-3 kind of shape, and you call it whatever you want, 3-3-3-1 or 3-3-1-3 or whatever numbering system you want to do. Ibarra can become the holding midfielder that Sosa vacated by dropping to the back line. So, again, you don't need a whole bunch of center backs because you've got cover in a lot of different ways, and he's going to want some of that cover to be young guys.
Patrick Sullivan had a question, and he wants to know if anyone can confirm if there's a relation between Stuart Dallas of Leeds United and lawyer extraordinaire Steve Dallas from Bloom County.
John will be right on that with his research.
Well, I mean, obviously, Stuart is leading to healthier lifestyle by not smoking. But I think that we'll have to ask Bert Breathitt about that, and he's out in California.
Well, see if you can get him for a 1v1. Work on it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. What else do we have? Tofka says he thinks that blonde Barco was an improvement from black-haired Barco, also because obviously he can go Super Saiyan, and Tofka added the GIF.
Yeah, you can see that. And Matt Wagner also mentioned Josh Bauer as well on the center back conversation. He's got to earn a contract, and it could be first team, it could be second team, but he's got to earn that deal. He could factor into that as well. Good shout. He would be the other one. I think he would probably be one who would need some time with Atlanta United too as well. We don't quite do 3-hour shows yet. Almost. We're working up. It's day one of training for the team. This was
so we're kind of in training too.
We've been in training, John. Where you been?
Drinking Guinness, apparently.
You need to drink a couple more. I think it improved some of the quality today. You need to drink more Guinness in the morning is what we've learned. John needs to drink more Guinness. We need to embrace our guilty pleasures in soccer and in music. And we need to watch Stoppage Time today at 2 o'clock. Facebook.com/929 The Game. Hang out with us there. Ask us questions. We'll talk well, maybe not exclusively, mostly about Atlanta United. And if we hear or learn anything about how things went today, the first training session with Gabriel Heinze in Marietta. We'll talk about everything that happens today in Champions League, your Europa League game, your Barcelona game in La Liga. You've got Copa Libertadores games against very small teams tonight. We'll talk about that as well on tomorrow's show. Y'all have a good rest of the day. Enjoy this beautiful weather, and mucha plata, y'all.
Paul White signs with AEW. That's wrestling down here. Mucha plata, y'all.